See, that's the thing about being a pessimist sometimes. Either things go well or you're proven right. Welcome to the Kindred Spirit Podcast, a program completely dedicated to the board game Spirit Island. On this show, we examine and discuss every aspect of the game, whether they be general tips, in-depth strategies, or silly shenanigans. Today, we recount the details of our third and final battle in our Brandenburg Prussia Takedown series. In today's game, my team took to the field. How do they perform? Well, let's find out.
Let's find out. The last game.
Here we go. Okay, 3 things. 1, man, it felt good to do the intro again.
You're back.
It's good to sit in this new chair once again.
Squeaky McSqueaks
After
is
all
gone.
of that time being in the old chair and then having to have you guys do the intros, I'm like, I don't like this other chair. I want my old chair back. It's just good to get back to some semblance of normality. 2, man, I am tired. We are
Exhaustion.
ragged. We have had just the craziest week. We've officially started on all the play practices and just the autumnal season of performing and quartet stuff. All of it has happened, and it
School
is just
started for
Not to
Laura.
mention-
School started,
Yep.
and
Not used to children.
yeah, our first week of practices just ended. This is the first weekend of quote unquote rest, but just ugh. Bro, I'm just exhausted. So, apologies in advance. I'm running on some pharmaceuticals and some sugar.
Ooh, lots of sugar over here, too.
And Laura is half asleep.
I had 2 Mountain Dews, 3 cups of coffee, very bad coffee, and I would like to go cry and sleep now.
I'm on a lot of Snapple. So
Yeah, I
sponsored
got
by
my snap as
Snapple.
well.
John's feeling it.
I'm feeling good. It's a fun game.
Yeah.
I had a great time.
And the third thing was we were able to have Jason in our game today. Hooray!
Laura, how's that make you feel? Jason came back.
He came for my game, but
Who's
not
Jason?
for
I don't know
yours.
him.
Wow. Yeah, she did not speak to him the entire game.
However, Jason had to bounce immediately after the game, so he sent us his notes and his regards and well wishes. So I hope you can feel the warm fuzzies of those warm regards, dear listener. And we're just going to get right to it, because my head hurts, and this is a fun game.
This was a fun game.
Before I start, I actually did come up with a name for my team.
Ooh.
I knew that I would be able to come up with a name. I just knew that I was like, I'll have to think about it. Sometimes you just have to let your subconscious sit on something for a bit. So my team of Downpour, Bringer, Wildfire, and Volcano, I came up with the name of Blackened Skies Bring Smoldering Sorrows.
No, you gotta say that in, like, editing Ryan voice or something.
Oh.
It's so epic.
Editing Ryan, can you drop this in with like maybe some thundering in the background?
Sure, why not? We'll have him do that.
Blackened skies bring smoldering sorrows.
Wow, that was pretty epic.
That was
I
so cool.
I'm spooked.
Well, yeah. So anyway, there was the name. Hooray, we finally came up with one. So we are once again taking on Brandenburg Prussia at their max level. And as is usual, we did random boards. So the boards that we were dealt were just the OG4. Good old A, B, C, and D. Hooray.
No funny surprises here.
And we just set up the board, and whoever was sitting wherever was like, all right, that's what you got. So, one thing that was fun was in John and Laura's game, they picked who played which spirit. I wanted to do something a little bit more fun for mine, but I didn't want it to be like too crazy because I didn't want to have too much fun because I actually did kind of want to somewhat do well. So what I did was I simply gave Jason the first pick out of the 4. Then after him, I let Laura pick second, John pick third, and I just got whoever was left. So when I asked Jason, hey, who do you want to play with? He elected to play Downpour, and he was slighted with A board today.
Was there a reason he picked Downpour out of those 4?
of the spirits that he had played as before, it was Downpour that was the only one that he ever played with.
Okay.
In the past.
Go ahead and come in and do something that he'd done before.
He
Familiar.
figured he'd rather do something
sense.
that he had done before, and that makes sense.
We're playing against level 6.
This was his first max level adversary ever, so his reasoning was definitely understandable.
For those keeping track, Jason was in our 6-player game.
Yeah.
So that was a level 4 on thematic. So it was a difficult game, but yeah, this was level 6.
And he played Many Minds.
Played Many Minds, correct.
And do you remember what he said about Many Minds?
Never again.
They were fun, they were great and amazing. I never want to play them again.
Never again.
I want to kill stuff, which is fine. Then the second pick went to Laura, and she elected to play as, surprise, surprise, Volcano.
Laura, what was your thought process in that?
I like Volcano. Volcano go boom.
Hooray.
Simple as that.
I picked Volcano so that Laura would have someone to play as.
Thank
And
you.
Laura spawned on D board today.
Yee.
That middle mountain you like.
Yeah, trying to get something where the mountains can reach every land.
Kind of like
that's
centrally
land-
located.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
like land 5 and D board. It's a good mountain for
One
you.
board strategy I am aware of.
Hey.
So I use it.
Then, John, you were given the third pick, and
Mm.
you had the choice of Bringer and Wildfire.
I went with my Fear Spirit. I
Hey,
went Bringer.
Bringer!
Plus, I gotta leave Wildfire to you, right?
I mean, completely up to you.
Yeah, but if, like we're saying, we're trying to play the best optimally, we're trying to have the best score, win the fastest, whatever.
Mhm.
I gotta give your main to you.
Aw, I appreciate
Aw.
that. You extended me a kindness. Hooray. I know how competitive you are. You could have
I
given me. But we would have had a good
cascading
time.
again. How does this Wildfire work?
No!
I guess I'm growing to this blighted land.
But you
And
didn't
so-
do that.
I did not.
Thank you, buddy. You went to B board.
Yes.
Hooray.
A lot of spirits have, like, starting in high sands.
Yeah.
What
I was on
noticed-
Sands as
Yeah.
Wildfire. You were on Sands with Bringer.
And I like B board's highest numbered sand. It just touched a lot. It was in the middle of the board. B board has a nice, I guess, like pretty centrally located sands in land 5 as well.
Yeah.
So,
It's a land that touches 4 other ones.
yeah, and I can get to other places pretty easily too when I
Sure.
grow. So
Well done.
Which means that I was left with Wildfire. Oh, what a shame. On Seaboard.
oh, what a bummer! One of the best boards in the
What
game.
a shame. My favorite board ever. I love Seaboard. Start, of course, on the highest numbered sands, which is in the north, but it also touches 4 other lands. So I have a lot of adjacencies there. So including that sand plus the 4
Mm-hmm.
that it is next to, I have like 5 lands, bam, right from the start. So it's not very difficult to get to the rest of your board because all you got to do is get to that other sand that's land 2, and then you can hit every land on your board. So that's quite nice. So that is where everyone went. Jason as Downpour went to A board. Laura as Volcano went to D board. John as Bringer went to B board. And I as Wildfire went to C board.
Now, you leaving the choices to us, that's a risk. Like, Laura didn't do that, and
Uh-huh.
I didn't do that, like you said.
Yeah.
Did you think that you would end up with Wildfire?
I figured it was highly likely.
Okay. Because
But this way, it lets you all have some agency in something that's quote unquote mine. And
yeah,
I wanted you all to have fun avenues of like personal ownership, even in something that's not quote unquote yours.
he's saying this because I alpha gamed my game.
You alpha game this one.
I'm sensing a theme here.
All I did
Competition
was
brings out a lot in him.
all I did was say, Laura, no, you're growing here, and no, Laura, you're playing this spirit. That's all I did.
It's true. I'm giving him a hard time.
But seriously, I did not risk it, and neither did Laura. So that
I
was
just
Sure.
threw the last thing at Ryan. I'm so sorry.
yeah.
No
Laura's like,
worries.
stones left. Here you go.
I will point out, John was kind of like, I'm playing Finder and I'm playing this one. Ryan can have that one on my game.
That was
So-
not true.
So-
That is true. I did that.
Also, it's true that I honestly don't really super care. There's like a little like personal goals, like I wouldn't mind if this happened. I wouldn't mind if that happened.
Yeah.
So it's not as big of a deal for me who gets what and what gets who. You know, it's just like, whatever. And this approach kind of is a good evidence of that. Just, oh yeah.
Well, you like
Whatever.
all these spirits on your team. Yeah, you would have
Yep.
been fine with any of
I
them.
love Downpour.
Mhm. Oh, yeah.
And
Played great
we'll go
Downpour.
on to this, but Laura played Volcano very similar to a way that I do.
Oh.
Bringer really depends on the mages you find,
Yeah.
so who knows what would have happened. And Wildfire, well, we'll talk about it. Point being, any one of us could have been any one of these, but I felt, well, we do have Jason. As far as experiential levels, he's probably the lowest. So I felt as if it was the most fair to give him the choice, and I wasn't surprised when he took Downpour. I would have loved to play Downpour, but whatever. These are semantics. It didn't happen. The team we had was Jason, Downpour, Laura Volcano, John Bringer, me, Wildfire.
You bring up a good point with, Jason just having a handful of plays under his belt. I think Downpour is, for a high complexity spirit, pretty safe for newer players. I wouldn't say brand new players, because there's a lot going on with Downpour.
Yeah.
But I think that defense is pretty safe, because new players don't like blights.
Yeah, you've heard us talk about this before. I would flip the complexity levels of Many Minds and Downpour.
Yeah.
Yes.
I would say Downpour is actually moderate instead of high,
Mhm.
and Many Minds is actually high instead of moderate. That is just my opinion. But like you said, I don't think, as I'm agreeing with you, Downpour is that hard.
No, I
I
think...
think it's like one of those easy to learn, hard to master.
Okay.
Like you can set
Yeah, I
up
can
some
see it.
really intricate stuff with Downpour,
Mhm.
but ultimately the whole idea of, I
Repeat.
repeat my card. Okay, not too hard. Many Minds is a little bit more like, wait, everything's going where? And you're just playing your own internal chess game.
Yeah, there's a lot more spatial awareness with Many Minds. Downpour, you move presence. You don't move like Sacred Sites or Beasts or 2 lands
Right.
away that Minds does.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, Downpour is just like, I'm here and I defend here. And we're like, cool.
Nice.
Well done.
So, let's get this thing underway. For our initial setup, the explore that happened was mountains, wetlands.
Okay. Here we
So
go.
in each of the games, we all start with the stage 3 cards, and it's like, okay, mountains and wetlands we go. So, John, what did you do?
Now, this was risky. I guess you could see it had I had a bad draw of like, oh, John's throwing the game. But I, listener at home, do this a lot when I play Bringer, is I go for a turn 1 major when I play Call in the Midnight Stream.
Sure.
You'll hear me do this later on. I played Bringer in our Guard the Owl's Heart game, which I did something similar. It's something I like to do.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, turn 1, I grow to a land with Dahan, and then I play Call in the Midnight Stream. For those who don't know the card, it says if target land has any Dahan, you gain a major power. And if you forget Call in the Midnight Stream, you gain energy equal to Dahan in the land, and then you may play that major immediately as long as you can pay its cost. So this is a little fun, especially against Brandenburg Prussia, where they're going so fast. They're going to 2 different types of lands in the first turn and can be growing and ravaging. I'm like, well, I want to go just as fast. And the other option of this card is if invaders are present, 2 fear. That's fine. That's nice. But I naturally generate so much fear with my innate and just all my other cards and my special rule. Yeah, with Night Terrors. So I'm like, I don't really need this 2 fear. So I went and pulled a major turn 1. I drew Death Falls. Hey! Callback from when Ryan played that in our Russia game. I drew Fire and Flood.
Also good.
Poisoned Land, damaging
Never
card.
bad.
Yeah, and then Tiger's Hunting. So it kind of...
You always find this card.
I love Tiger's Hunting. Hey, you shuffled this deck.
He puts it
That's
up
true.
his sleeve.
I do not. I do not. It was funny with Death Falls because, again, we like this card. We've seen it used to great effect.
Oh, yeah.
But it targets jungles and sand.
Right.
And Ryan,
Where'd they go?
Where'd they go?
Mountains, wetlands.
So it's just like, yeah. Well, I can't use this card, because you use it immediately.
Right.
Well, I would use it in the slow phase. Anyway,
Right.
Fire and Flood caught my eye. Now, this is an expensive card, but damage for Bringer in 2 different lands.
Could be
That'd be
really
big.
nice.
Could be
and
really
they go
good.
everywhere. But it is a fire water card.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, I'm more moon air.
I'm
Like,
more Moon Air. I only have 1 fire card. You're right. And
Yeah.
7 is
Yeah.
expensive.
It is.
So I wouldn't have had enough energy to play it immediately.
Yeah.
Because I grew to a land with 2 Dahan on my board. It grew to land 8 on B board, which had 2 Dahan. Again, I chose land 8 because it was like the innermost land. I like when it touches in a 4-player game, like those corner ones. The innermost land kind of touches so many different lands.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's why I grew there. But then Tiger's Hunting. Ryan, you started chatting me up about this one because I was kind of looking at Fire and Flood.
Yep. I mean, you drew them one at a time. You're like, oop, there's Death Falls. Oop, there's Fire and Flood. I was like, oh, Fire and Flood. There's Poison Land. Okay. And Tiger's Hunting. I remember you're like, so what do you think? I'm like, man, I like all of these.
Yeah.
For various reasons. And you're like, so which one should I go with? I'm like, probably the one you can get to happen the most often, honestly.
And what's nice about Tiger's Hunting, 2 cost. It's a 2 cost major.
Cheap.
And it's basically Raging Hunt.
Yep.
I mean, basically you add a beast, so Raging Hunt doesn't do that, but you do 1 damage per beast.
Oh, man. I wish Raging Hunt
I
added a
wish
beast.
it added a beast.
Oh, man.
And then damage per, then you get to push 2 afterwards. So
Yeah.
it's very similar to Fangs.
Yep. Yeah, it's just Raging Hunt for players who aren't Fangs.
Yeah. But it has an easy threshold that you talked to me about, where it's a lot of 2s.
Yep.
And so it's 2 sun, 2 moon, and 3 animal. Why have animal powers, cards with animals on it, animal elements, and I have an any on my board.
Yeah.
And everything 2 is easy because I only play 2 cards as Bringer. I know I'm talking a lot about this, but this was a big pull.
Yeah, and we'll talk about why it was later.
But I ended up going with Tigers Hunting. I forgot calling Midnight Stream. Question to the room.
What's up?
And maybe it's specifically Ryan.
Hey. I was going to say something about Call to Midnight's Dream, and I'm wondering if you're about to bring it up.
I might not be.
Okay, that's fine.
All right, what's your question to the room that I won't answer?
Yeah, you can answer, but Ryan's very familiar with this card and with beast powers. My question is, because we've recently done our lightning episode where, beast user. I think Bringer might be a beast user. I know they don't start with any beast powers.
You know, it's an interesting question because absolutely nothing about their kit has anything to do with beasts.
Nothing.
Literally nothing. But you do have Reclaim 1 on Growth 2, and you can get any element. So I'm going to say you have really good major flexibility. Is what I'm going to say.
I like that phrasing.
I'm not going to say you necessarily are pro-beast, which technically is true, but I think Bringer is good with beasts, not because Bringer's actually good with beasts, it's because Bringer is flexible with majors, which can sometimes mean beast if you find a beast card.
Okay. And a lot of beast majors do damage, which Bringer loves.
They love it.
Like sea monsters or, Hunger of the Swarm.
Angry Bears,
Pent Up Calamity. A lot of these beast damaging powers.
And those ones aren't super expensive.
No.
Not the most crazy thing you've ever seen. Angry Bears is only 3. Tiger Hunting is 2.
Yeah, you can definitely afford these.
Yeah.
I am very happy I grew to my jungle because Tiger's Hunting.
That's right. Yes.
Looking back,
you grew to your jungle before you pulled the major, so you're like, okay, let's go see what happened. Oh, hey, look at that. Range 1 of a jungle.
How convenient.
I think it was convenient. I grew there because of the Dahan. That land starts 2 Dahan, so I get 2 energy for those 2 Dahan.
Yeah.
But now thinking about it, I'm like, maybe that's not a bad strat for Bringer or Jungle Hungers type of thing. If you go for a turn 1 major with Bringer and there's a jungle with Dahan, maybe
I would definitely inform yourself of the board state and what lands are currently being occupied. Because, what if we did have a whole lot of bad guys on Jungle Sands? Well, maybe I will find a Death Falls.
I would have pulled Death Falls. Yeah, I would have taken that one.
Wow, mountains and jungles are going crazy. Maybe I will find a Dark and Tangled Wood or something. Simply knowing the cards that are in the decks, whether minor or major, and you can be like, well, where are they going? Wetland Sands? Okay, well, in the decks, where am I going to find the most Wetland Sands cards? Well, maybe there's a Sucking Ooze over here in the Minder deck.
Exactly. Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Go in that deck.
Right.
You said you were going to say something on Call to Midnight's Dream.
Call to Midnight's Dream was a card that I slept on early on in my Spirit Island career because I was so confused by it.
Yeah, I remember talking about that.
And this card has a lot of really good value because you can get a major going off turn 1, and if you can gather Dahan into a spot and then gain energy per Dahan that's there, and like you said, if you find a Jungle Hungers, and you can find that maybe against an early game France, who has a lot of towns,
and destroy all of them,
right? I was very impressed in recent games with Call to Midnight's Dream, and I was happy to see it this time, yet again, kind of prove my beginner self wrong of, I don't know this card, it's kind of weird, I'll just take the 2 fear.
It's a lot of reading.
Right.
It's do I forget, or energy
right.
from Dahan.
A lot of cards in this game don't have as much text on them as this card does, so you look at them, you're like,
So you just look at the bottom 2 fear invaders, and whoop-de-doo. It's 2
right,
fear.
or something. Yeah. Or just give me one that says put a bad lands to damage. Or something like that. Just something simple, symbology, but this one's just a paragraph and whatnot. So if it says I can do that, and then if it says I could do that.
Yes. It is confusing, especially to a new player, where they're overwhelmed with all this symbology and all that stuff.
So I want to come in and just remark on how good the card is. Just pick a land that has a lot of Dahan in it. That equates to the amount of energy you're about to get. You can grab a major, and then you can immediately play it. That is dope.
Turn 1, I'm playing Tigers Hunting. I'm spawning beasts, and I'm stopping builds.
Yeah. And it's dope, but this is definitely a more amateur/veteran thing than a beginner thing, I think. And that is, this card promotes a very Hail Mary playstyle.
True.
I don't think beginners usually, and this is my opinion, I don't think beginners are as willing to do Hail Marys as maybe a veteran or an amateur player would be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because, like, majors, what are majors? I don't know. Depends on what I find.
Yeah.
What does majors mean? Sometimes that means crazy utility. Sometimes that means bonkers offense. Sometimes that means a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Maybe it's like something crazy control. Oh, hey, look, I found Irresistible Call. That's like a sublime control card with action skipping.
Yeah.
You don't know what you're going to find. I'm a major spirit. What does that mean? Does that mean I'm offense? I don't know. It just means that you can play
Afford
what you
majors. Yeah.
find.
Basically.
So quick, go ahead and grab a major. What am I going to find? I don't know.
So, yeah, with you saying it's a Hail Mary strategy, I can see people pointing the finger at John like, why are you just trying to, like, you know, throw a dart against the dartboard for Ryan's game? I wasn't trying to throw, you know, like,
No, that's just who Bringer is. I picked Bringer. I knew that Bringer's my wild card.
Yeah, and that's what I was trying to be.
And this is why Bringer is a wild card.
And it was a good pull. I was spawning beasts a ton. We'll talk about that later.
About that.
Yeah.
The way I look at it, it's not a chance that you're not going to have something that's helpful. You just don't know how you're going to be helped.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to have something that helps you, but how? I don't know.
Yeah, so Bringer might not be a starting beast spirit, but I was definitely, like, beast friendly. I became our beast spirit in that game. So.
Yep. My turn 1 didn't really do so much. I just jumped to a wetland, burned a explorer who was all by themselves.
Stopped another build, yeah.
And I had played Asphyxiating Smoke. Yes, I know that Asphyxiating Smoke sometimes is saved for a turn where you play it with Flash Fires, so you can make Flash Fires fast. But I was kind of leaning towards more I want to go ahead and negate as much of Brandenburg Prussia's turn 2 strength as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So there was another wetland in the middle of my board, land number 5, that had 2 Dahan, a Blight, and an Explorer on there. So I'm like, oh, they're going to go build a town.
Yep.
If I Asphyxiating Smoke the town, I can shove one of the Dahan out of there, but one remains, and it'll just be 1 Dahan, 1 Explorer. Then when they ravage, they'll take care of it for me.
What's cool about that is not the town popping, like that was very good.
Yeah.
But the crunch or the discussion came around where you push that Dahan.
That actually was the biggest part.
And that was huge for
because
later on.
I had an inland mountain that had a town and an explorer on it, and that's it. So I'm like, well, they're about to build a city there. Maybe, and this is something I don't usually do with Wildfire, do a Hail Mary card draw. I was like,
so many Hail Marys in this game.
Well,
Right
here's the
off the bat,
thing.
too,
Here's the thing.
turn
With
1.
Brandenburg Prussia, it's like, well, they're here. What are you going to do about it? Well, I usually like to. No, you got to do stuff now.
Brandenburg
what
Prussia,
would work? What might work is getting saved by a Hail Mary thing. So let's Hail Mary this thing.
Brandenburg Prussia feels like you're showing up late to a party. It just feels like, this already started and everyone's like already into the cake already. I'm like, I just got here. You guys had dinner already without me?
So
that's what Brandenburg Prussia feels like. Like, oh, we're already ravaging?
Go, go, go. Yeah, we were just Brett Favre it all over here.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, Brett Favre was a quarterback for the Green Bay Packers for many, many years, and he was famous for throwing the football very far down the field, hence the nickname Hail Mary. That's when you throw the football very far, very long. Very difficult chance that the wide receiver will catch it because whoever is covering the wide receiver might intercept the football.
Right.
But if you can make this pass, since you threw the ball literally 80 yards, you could get a touchdown with it, or you can just completely miss. Because since you're throwing it so far away, it is so hard to accurately get the football to a specific spot on the field. So whenever the wide receivers see a Hail Mary pass, they're like,
running as fast as they can.
It's like, they try to run as fast as they can, and it's very risky to do a Hail Mary pass.
But that's what made Brett Favre so special because oddly
he made
enough,
so many of them.
He somehow made those work.
So
I would say that made his wide receivers special, but nobody talks about them.
Donald Driver is one of the best players I have ever seen. One of my favorites. Love him.
We've lost
so
our
cool.
EU audience. Come back, Europeans.
Anyway, as a Green Bay Packer fan, they were so stressful. Like, Favre, stop doing it. Because you see him throw it, and the camera has to pan because he threw it so far.
Field,
and you're like, is it going to land? Is it going to land? Is it going to get intercepted? Is it going to... So here, though, I'm using that metaphor because it's like, I don't know if this is going to work.
You could have been sending those Dahan to their death.
Right. And I don't want Dahan to die for score reasons.
And because we like
now
them.
I'm blighting and I'm losing a Dahan.
Yeah.
So I figured, well, there's going to be a town, a city, and an explorer, and I can shove at least one Dahan in there. I figure because Blazing Presence says, oh, hey, when I go into a land, sure, all beasts run away, but optionally Dahan may leave, which means they don't have to, which means, okay, I'll have the Dahan stay. Perhaps between me and the Dahan, I can do some damage to the city to, like, maybe damage it.
Yeah.
And if I can find a defend card, if I can find one, I can
with your
defend.
odds, you always find one. You always find 4, and then all of us are crying.
It
Right,
literally
he takes all the defend
happened.
cards.
Yeah, and then we're
That
just like,
in one go.
Literally happened one time.
and we'll never let you forget.
Just
about
because it happened. Hey, I'll have you know, it was only 3 defend cards.
It's the Gold's allure joke again. It happened once, and I'm like, remember when you always talk about this? This always happens to you. Like, John, I mentioned Gold's allure once. I'm like, no, you
I believe
love
it was
that.
twice. If I'm not
You love
that card. Anyway, so between me hopefully finding a defend card so that the Dahan can counterattack, and me doing a Blazing Presence to do 1 damage to the city, I figured I could go and hopefully get enough to kill the city. And if I find a defend card, then that means it's not going to blight.
There you go.
Hopefully this will be able...
There's a lot of hopefullys and then send. Hopefully if this happens.
I know,
and then
but like I
hopefully
said...
and then possibly this.
Potentially.
But so I went to land number 8, my initial wetland, which had a single explorer on it to kill him. Then I did asphyxiating smoke in the slow phase to pop the town that came up from my middle wetland in land number 5 so that there was a single Dahan and a single explorer in the land. So by the time it would ravage, that land was covered.
Mm-hmm.
Then I was doing this Hail Mary on my inland mountain on land number 7. And I was just like, I can't do anything about my other mountain in the corner, but come what may.
With Brand Pressure, we're like, well, yep, that's just going to blight on turn 2.
Yeah, that was my turn 1.
For Downpour, Jason played Dark Skies and got to repeat that.
Nice.
So he stopped, and that's a fast power that pushes explorers. It was nice that Jason was familiar because, you know, with a newer player, like, hey, buddy, do you need help? Like, he was just like, no, I got this. I know I'm repeating this. I'm playing this over there, and I'm stopping 2 builds. I'm like, oh, all right, dude, nice.
Yep.
It's like, well, you seem fine. I'll quarterback someone else.
There you go.
Then John walked over to me and...
Speaking of, Laura, how did Volcano do?
Nothing crazy big in the first turn. I just did a little Rain of Ash on my little corner land that was sticking out to the side just to clear out that mess before it built or became a problem at all.
All right.
And yeah, you know how Volcano goes. You can do interesting things and then you don't really do much of anything.
You were looming on high. You were, gathering yourself.
I did a lot of looming in the first one.
You were looming in turn 1.
Mm.
Our event burn was urban development.
Yeah, I'm actually okay with that.
Yeah, it wasn't, one of the famous ones to burn.
farmers.
No, it wasn't farmers. It wasn't outpace. It wasn't missionaries or something that everyone hates.
Yeah, urban development's just the one where if the island is healthy, which obviously in the early game your island will be healthy, that's the one where each city does +2 damage. Like, ugh.
And we had some city builds, and I know Downpour had a city build.
Right. And then you ignore disease this phase, and you're like, early game ignoring disease, not fun.
So yeah, it was nice to burn that one.
Yeah.
Right, and it also has Fierce Main, the Dahan event, where it's like, oh, you get fear per land with invaders where Dahan outnumber buildings. And it's like, well, that'd be like an accidental thing if possible, but probably not going to happen because players usually won't have the opportunity to conglomerate Dahan in high numbers too much. So I did not mind missing this one.
Not too bad.
So that was the event that we burned. In the slow phase, there wasn't really a whole lot. And where did they explore? They went to the Sands.
The Sands. This is always nice. I like this with Brandenburg Prussia when they go to somewhere different than they went to the first turn.
Yes, I actually like that too.
Because, I did Predatory Nightmares with Bringer in the slow phase, and I did 2 fake damage or whatever, and fake destroyed a town. But had they gone to a wetland again or explored to a coastal wetland, I would still have 2 explorers there.
Sure.
So it's still blight. So
Right.
I'm happy they went to Sands.
Yet
because...
at the same time, if you can get a Dahan counterattack and you can kill someone in the Ravage before the build,
Yes.
that actually
That's
is really
true.
nice. So like pros and cons everything.
That's true. Pros and cons. I
everything.
was personally happy. I'm like, okay, Sands, it's something different.
Yeah.
We can, the mountains and the wetlands will stay.
Then in the slow phase, well, I already told you, I kind of spoiled it already, but that's when my asphyxiating smoke went off.
I think that's when my little Rain of Ash happened.
And I had Predatory Nightmares. Then we're like, okay, here's the big boom. Turn 2, Brandenburg
All
Prussia.
right.
Yeah.
Boy, turn 2 was wild.
That was huge.
In this game.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Turn 2 was crazy.
Stuff started happening.
Well, okay, so you're talking about how you are Hail Marrying potentially withdrawing a defend power. So talk about you went minor, turn 2. Ryan, what happened?
I should have said when I placed my presence last time I did grow 3 because I wanted to get a good energy spike as I could. So, but hey, it's a scaling energy spike that actually gets better as the game goes on. And hey, 3 right off the bat, not bad.
Yeah.
Because it's 2 plus 1 for every fire element that you got exposed on a track. And like, hey, well, that's 1. So that's 2 plus 1 is 3. Sweet. This time, though, in turn 2, I did growth 2, placed a presence, and I grabbed a card. I went for a minor. I drew Flesh Rot Fever. Infested Aquifers. Entrap the Force of Corruption.
Interesting pull.
Which I actually wasn't super opposed by. I was like, ooh, that could be good.
Blight manipulation.
And Domesticated Animals Go Berserk. Yes! We constantly get this card, and we talk about it all.
Most pulled card.
Who shuffles
this deck? Who shuffles? There's 100 minors, and Domesticated Animals comes up on every play? That's crazy. Why can't we have Growth or Sacrifice every play?
The thing I like the most about this, and we've said it so many times, we'll say it every time, it's the goat just looking at the camera going, yeah! That's why we're saying, yeah, every time, because it's just this goat screaming at the camera. I don't know why. It's always funny.
But
it's always so good.
You got your defend power.
I was like, yes, like I'm a defend power.
And it was the last one. It was your last reveal. It was the fourth one.
And it's like, oh, look at all these strings attached in a land that you're in. Doesn't care. In a land that has buildings. Doesn't matter. Like, got it.
We'll make it work.
So this was actually kind of fun because I hadn't grown there yet. Mm-hmm. So this turn I did. There was a town, a city, and a explorer there. And so I was thinking about how I should do my turn. I'm like, let's see, how do I... They're going to be ravaging there this turn. How can I make sure I get the most bang for buck out of this while also not blighting? Because Domesticated Animals defends 5.
Correct.
But they have 6 damage coming in.
Which is safe.
Right, and I have a single Dahan in here, and I don't have enough to go ahead and kill everything, but I want to kill the city, so I want to make sure that my damage goes ahead and starts working on the city when I enter in there. Because one thing I actually did here, I don't usually do this, I actually played Wildfire in a different way than my standard. I usually would have gone top track. This time, I went for bottom track again because I wanted a second card play. Because I wanted to start getting 2 cards going so I could potentially get some more plant in so I can start getting Firestorm to happen. And also plant is what's used for Burn Land Regos. And I kind of wanted to get, if I could, some blight off the field as soon as possible.
Sorry, just quick sidebar. I'm so inexperienced with Wildfire. First of all, I thought you had to push Dahan out. I didn't know that was optional. I'm like, Ryan, do you have to push him out? You're like, no, it's optional.
Beasts, yes.
Beasts, yes. Again,
no.
Shows how much I know. And then how much you talk about plants being important for Wildfire. I'm like,
it really is.
Whenever I hear that, it makes me pause. I'm like looking to Laura, like, does he mean to say fire? What's he talking about? Plant?
Why plants?
I always forget how much you need
plants
both for the innate. Well, you need both. But plants, I always hear Ryan talking about, I'm looking for my plant. You know, I'm trying to play plant this turn.
Yep.
Can we just talk about how cool that is thematically? Because a wildfire, like, it's shown that if a wildfire goes through, like, a land, like, it takes a little bit of time, but the green comes back. And oftentimes, like, a land kind of needs to burn and get rid of all of the dead stuff, and then it can start growing again.
They're also a spirit
Eric
of
Royce, you've done it again.
Destruction, but also growth after destruction, and that kind of, like, lends that vibe.
Yeah.
A lot of people have complained that they need too much plant to make things work.
Yeah.
I'm one of these people.
Maybe that's why I always hear Ryan talking about plant. I just always hear Ryan.
He's like, where's the plant?
No, it thematically does make sense. It's not as conveyed when you look at them. You see fire, you see the happy jumping elk dog thing that they are. That they, oh, look, I just need fire. Yes, you need fire, but you also need plant. But we've talked about that before, so I don't need to rehash those things. Anyway, I went bottom track. That's the point, so I can get another card play. But we were like, okay, wait a minute. I just realized something.
Yeah.
I don't have enough Dahan to wipe out the rest of this land, so I really want to take out the city. I really wish I could. But the problem is that there's going to be 1 damage that goes through. Under normal circumstances, that's fine. I'm defending 5 with Domesticated Animals because that's how much it defends. But there's 6 damage coming in. 3 from the city, 2 from the town, 1 from the explorer. That's okay, 1 can go through. blah. I'm like, I've had events completely screw up where I'm like, oh, look, someone does bonus damage or something.
This happens.
Or whatever. I mean, there's literally hundreds of millions of ways that I've been shafted by events. So who knows how creative
I
they
think
can
this
be
is
to
you-
screw me over.
This is you becoming more chiseled as a veteran player. Because you crunch this out. You're like, I need to make sure that
I need this to die.
to die.
So I think I'm going to kill the Explorer with my 1 damage from Blazing Presence, because that means that the incoming damage is 5, not 6.
And even if they do add a bonus damage, you're still fine.
I'm still covered, and we'll figure something out, perhaps.
Yeah.
We hope.
While Ryan was talking about this, because you were saying, like, man, I really wish I could have extra Dahan. I'm like, dude, I have dreams of the Dahan. So this is a fast power where I can gather up to 2 Dahan 2 lands away. So again, the collaborativeness, like Ryan crunching through what's going on in this mountain, I'm like, hey, do you need my Dahan?
Yeah.
And then
I was like, that would be like everything.
So I sent him 2 Dahan, so then he didn't have to worry about that city as much.
So I still plinked the Explorer.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, there's enough Dahan here that now that I'm defending 5 with 5 damage coming in, with 3 Dahan, that means they'll reflect 6 damage in the counterattack, which means that'll be clear. Awesome, sweet, love it. So that is what I did for my fast phase. I played domesticated animals, and I did a threatening flames because I kind of wanted to get early game fear.
Yeah. Yes, we definitely leaned into fear in this game.
Yep. More on that later.
Laura, what did you do turn 2?
I did the growth 3, so I got extra money, I got an extra card play, I got to add a presence 4 away, and I got another card. So I drew Reaching Grasp, Strong and Constant Currents, Voracious Growth, and Weep for What Is Lost.
A nice selection of cards
They
there.
all stunk.
Okay. I like Reaching Grasp a lot.
Reaching grass.
And
is
then my
really good.
elements. and
Yeah.
Volcano's all about them
It's
elements.
just good to see
and,
Blobby again.
Yeah, Blobbiness. What'd you pick out of those?
I picked Weep for What Is Lost.
A Blight Target
It's a
power.
blight card, and
Yeah.
It really did nothing for me the whole entire game, but that's okay. I had it, and that's all that
It gave you
mattered.
some elements, right?
sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
for those who don't know, Weep for What Is Lost is a free, slow power that can only go in a land that's blighted. And you get 1 fear for every type of invader presence, so that just means a maximum of 3. You may push up to 1 explorer or town per blight there. And since we have Volcano on the team and Wildfire on the team, we figured we might have some blight on the field.
But here's the problem.
Uh-oh.
I came into this trying to be a team player
Hey!
Nice.
until Jason made really bad coffee, and I decided I hate my team.
You will not give this poor kid a break, will
I'm
you?
still drinking it. It's disgusting.
It is diner coffee. The most dinerist.
But he said, I love diner coffee.
That was his excuse for having made diner coffee. But I came into the game knowing that Volcano can blight. Now I know that blight is how you don't get points, because nobody told me. And so I did not want to blight too much for Ryan.
Aw.
I really appreciate that.
So I picked up this card that did stuff when you got blight, but then I never ended up blighting. So it was kind of worthless.
You didn't find gold allure, we'll say that.
Didn't get nothing good
You're
there.
not the best pull.
You rat. Let's talk about Downpour.
Downpour had a good draw, right?
I think so.
This was kind of funny.
This was funny.
Downpour, Jason drew Renewing Rain, Prowling Panthers, Entrancing Apparitions, and Sap the Strength of Multitudes. Honestly, really good cards
So
here.
good.
I kind of gave him a hard time they didn't pick Renewing Rain. I was like, wow, Downpour didn't pick the Rain card.
He was really curious because he's like, well, we want to get rid of Blight, right? Because, Renewing Rain, like, I can spam that. It's really good. I'm like, Renewing Rain
It's
is really
great,
good
yeah.
on Downpour. But he's like, but Sap the Strength would help me a lot right now. I'm like, it's true. Good board state. And having it on Downpour, they could really use that card to great effect.
A 0 costing card. Hey, repeating 0 costing. Still 0. Pretty nice. So yeah, he went with Sap. I gave him a hard time, but it was the correct choice.
It
for
was.
sure.
And also, he would have had to have gone to us, which isn't the worst thing.
Mm-mm.
But he would have had to travel in order to make Renewing Rain super useful.
Wait, you mean he didn't do the optimal thing for that spirit and how you should play it? And
I
it
don't
still
believe.
worked out okay? Oh, whoa.
I'm sensing a...
It's difficult. You never know what truly is the most optimal because you don't know what the event's going to be.
That's
type of thing. Or you don't know where they're going to explore next. Or even what the fear card's going to be.
Right. What is optimal? It depends on your,
On a
your
lot of
variable
things.
circumstances.
Yeah, and this game is so variable. Anyway, Sap was good for him. It's simply a defend 5 card, but if you have air, it can be +1 range. It's usually range 0.
Mm-hmm.
And he has air. And, oh, by the way, Downpour's mobile. So even if he doesn't have his air,
He'll just get there.
he'll just move there.
Sure.
So, yeah, it was a good pull for Downpour. I did my Grow 2, Reclaim 1, and just pulled Tiger's Hunting!
Hey!
Let's keep using this power!
Get used to it.
Yeah, you're going to be hearing this a lot.
Hooray.
We talked about, in previous episodes, how strong Reclaim 1s are. Yeah.
Yep.
Especially when you get to grow and still reclaim. Okay.
I love it.
Best.
So I was like, hey, let's get more beasts out there.
Why not?
There's beast events potentially that could happen. And also fear for the card, fear for destroying things, as like shadow destroying, as bringer, fear destroying, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, I had a fun time. That's what I did.
Love it.
And one thing that's very exciting, I was really hoping this would happen.
Okay.
We were predicting that this would happen, and lots of you predicted that this would happen too, but we were super curious when the first fear card was going to happen in this game, and all of us, John and I especially, are ecstatic to say that we got the first fear card in the fast phase
Of
turn 2.
That's what we're talking about.
I was like, yes! Yes!
Do you guys remember when we got the first fear card in the other 2 games?
Turn
Was it
3.
like 3 and
I think
5.
They were both turn 3, and I want to say slow
Slow
phase.
phase.
Yeah, slow phase of 3.
So we're already doing so much better on the
And
fear.
this was the first half of turn 2. I was like, oh, I even remember at the end of turn 1, I'm like, yeah, this is great.
It was great. And I got to flip it, and it was
Yep.
immigration slows, which basically stops a build in lowest numbered land.
Yeah, we actually get this one a lot, don't we?
Another one that kind of keeps popping up.
Yeah.
I guess there's not as many fear cards as like
suppose.
other ones, but
As certainly as minors or something.
right. But if you are preventing Brandenburg from being as fast as they are, we're stopping. That's everything.
Yeah.
We are slowing them down, stopping their
Mhm.
builds. Huge.
Yep.
Huge.
Laura was asking me, like, which track am I going to go down when we're playing the game? I'm like, top track, bringer.
Well, you're bringer, so.
And it's like, oh, Laura's like, that stinks. You only get to play 2 cards. I think this is my 3rd card play.
Honestly.
Flipping the fear card.
I can see it.
Because then it's like, it's for the whole team, but like, we obviously couldn't plan around this one. But as I continue to flip the cards, oh, if we do this, if Dahan are here, if Beasts are here, this happens.
Right, and you can make use of those fear cards because you have preparations for it.
Mm-hmm.
You can make preparations for it.
Ryan, you started having me flip the fear card the first thing to do, and then
Yeah.
we continued our fast phase.
Yes, I was like, I want to see as early as possible what's going to happen. Like the early warning systems. The earlier you know, the longer you have to make use of it.
Yeah, the
You
start
know.
of the turn, Ryan would be like, can you flip a fear card? He would ask me every turn. I'm like, yeah, I can flip. He's like, okay, and he would flip it over.
No.
He's like, now everyone else can do their turn.
And the thing that was funny was Jason was like, oh, that happens right now. I'm like, no. It just,
No.
we see what it does right now. We make use of it later. It's like, oh, man.
So that was our fast phase. A lot of defense from Ryan and Jason, some fear from me. Laura, what did you do?
I was able to do my first volcanic eruption. It was just a little bitty eruption. I didn't do any big eruptions in this game.
So listener at home, that is so unlike Laura.
I know. This is what I was referring
I'm
to when I
shocked.
said that she played in a style that's actually much more like me, how I play this one.
I got bored. But that's okay.
So just like tier 1, explosive eruption?
Yeah, I just took 2 of my presents off the board, and I was able to kill a town in the land I was in, and kill a town in a wetlands, so that they did not ravage.
It was nice that these 2 lands, because they explored the mountains and wetlands, you had a mountains and wetlands right next to each other.
So perfect.
That worked out well. For
That
Laura.
worked out great.
Absolutely did. That was the end of the fast phase. We
Mhm.
moved into our event.
What was our first event? Our first official one.
You know, at first I was like, oh, because I have this name in my head as like a bad one for various reasons. And then
Okay.
I have to remind myself, oh yeah, that's why I don't like it. So it was civic engagement. I was like, oh. I was like, okay, why do I dislike this one again? Ah, right, it's the one that ignores strife.
As a trickster player, I hate this
Right,
one.
right.
But, haha.
We didn't really have any.
We didn't
It's
have
like,
strife
you know
out
what?
there.
I don't think
That's
we-
actually
I
not
don't
so
think we put a
bad.
single strife thingy on
No, we
the...
didn't have. I don't
Nope.
think we had strife powers or fear
Nope.
strife. No.
Nope.
No strife.
So I was like, I think we're actually okay.
Keep reading.
The thing that's hilarious, though, was the beast effect of this card. Oh my good gravy. So it says on each board, remove a stripe.
Ha! Can't do it. We win.
Yeah, and like that's why we were like, okay, that's why this one is annoying. But then I was like, oh right, if you can't do this, invaders do +1 damage per land when ravaging in lands with buildings.
No.
And I was like, ha! Aha! I called it!
You did.
I called it! The land where I wanted to defend, that land 7, the inland mountain, where I was afraid, hey, 1 damage is going to go through. You know what? They're probably going to screw me over and do something. Oh, look.
They tried.
They tried. It was about to. If I didn't kill that explorer, that means they would have been doing 7 damage.
Ouch. But
So, the thing that was great, though, was now that since they were doing 5, now they're just doing 6. So, 1 still goes through, but my defend 5 still holds.
You just shouted.
I was
cheered.
like, oh! Oh! See, that's the thing about being a pessimist sometimes. Either things go well or you're proven right. So, which is ironic because that's the optimistic way of looking at pessimism. But I was like, ha! Like, take that!
Because of how negative you were being, things went right.
I was able to completely bank on my bad event card luck, knowing like, oh, it could go bad. No, it will go bad. Here we go.
Going to happen.
And look,
And
it did. So fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 600 times, still shame on me. Fool me 601 times. Hey.
No, that was really cool. That
So
was just like
the
you-
land didn't blight.
Yeah.
So when they ravaged the 3 Dahan there, completely cleaned it. But oh gosh, that was funny.
That was
I
a high
just-
play. That
I
was
looked
high.
at
That was
John
pretty cool.
and I just laughed. I was like, I told you.
That was all you.
I told you it would happen.
You're like, actually, I'm gonna kill this explorer. I'm like, what? Like, that was all Ryan. That was awesome.
And then, oh goodness gracious, the beast part of this card, Casualties of Fang and Sting. It says on each board, destroy either a town or an explorer in a land with beasts. Good gravy, this was awesome. We killed 4 towns with this.
What?
I was like, oh! Ah!
Hey, Tiger's hunting coming in clutch.
I know. John's spitting more beats out there. I'm like, beast defense. So it felt so great to like stick it to the event, you know?
Yeah.
That's always the man in this case. I got to stick it to the man. Who's the man? The event deck's the man. Stick it to the man.
Stick it to the man.
I hate you. So it was so great. And because of this event card, plus what we were able to do later, we did some craziness in turn 2, but I'll talk about that at the end of turn 2. This is where we also had immigration slows
Yeah, stopped at
actually happen. We
Yeah.
saw it coming. So this meant that my lowest numbered sand was land number 2 with have a disease token, which means I didn't need to waste my disease token.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think a couple sands were able to not build, which was really good. You know, buildings weren't popping up. That was a big turn
Yep.
because we defended a lot. Downpour defended a ton. You know, started
Yep.
repeating sap, moving Dahan around.
We had a lot of Dahan counterattacks.
Yeah.
I had counterattacks happening on my board. Jason had some happening on his.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot, honestly, in this game that happened around me, but I was focusing so much on my board, and especially in the early game, that I wasn't watching everything happen live,
Right.
so to speak. So, like, just get back to me when you have, like, the totals, because I was keeping on the stats. So, between all of us and the event card, in turn 2, the amount of people that died was insane. Absolutely insane. We had 13 explorers die, 5 towns died, and a city died.
Woof.
All in turn 2.
it was a pretty good turn, too.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
That's 19 invaders. That's insane.
Yeah, I mean, we had just a lot of good defense. It's nice when Jason's presence defense and also Sap repeated defense. So there's defense everywhere.
Yeah.
You were defending.
Right.
And then Laura was, you know, doing fast damage. Ryan's doing fast damage. So
Yep.
it was a pretty deathly
Yep.
turn.
By the ravage of turn 2, we had our second fear
Mhm.
card. I'm like, oh, guys. Oh, come
We're
on. This is
cruising.
great. I am loving this. And everyone expected that this team would go
Quicker.
well with fear.
Yeah, quicker with the fear.
Because, Bringer's on your team. Yeah, but so is Downpour, Wildfire, and Volcano. Like, I was actually doing decent fear, too, because of asphyxiating smoke. There's fear. Terrifying flames. There's fear. Domesticated animals. There's fear. Like, Downpour was even grabbing some.
Yeah, getting fear.
And of course, I mean, there's like that one moment where you're like, okay, I'm going to do this and this and this and this and this and this is this and that is that. Oh, hey, look, there's 8 fear from Bringer. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, there's the innate, the cards, Tigers hunting.
Shadow killing a town.
Shadow killing town. Beast killing off things from the event is pretty nice.
It's nice.
Yeah.
Yep. So that was turn 2. We killed so many invaders, and this was the turn that gave me a spark of hope. Like, oh, hey, wait a minute.
Wait a second.
Maybe this team won't, blight the field and flip the card, and maybe we can actually, compete here and maybe get a decent score. Maybe. One can dream. I dared to hope to dream on turn 2 when it was over.
We've said this before. Turn 2 is very important with Brand Prussia.
Yep.
You had a great turn 2.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And John, you and I just blighted a single time.
Yep.
Each
it's
of
gonna
us.
happen. Yeah, it'll happen.
Yep. And for me, it was just 1. I was able to bring the 4 Ravages that were going to come through on my board down to 1. I was happy. Our teamwork brought 1 of those down. Thank you for that. And you likewise just had 1.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
Then we checked to go see what the next explore was, and it was the mountains. And then we moved on to turn 3.
Yeah, we were very fast this phase.
Yeah, not a lot of slow stuff.
Yeah, Laura did damaging in the fast, Ryan doing defense and damage, me doing, fast Tigers hunting. It's one of those, does anyone have any slows? We're like, no, I don't think so. So, turn 3.
Turn 3. Downpour went and was looking for cards. And once again, he's like, guys, what do I grab? He found Visions of a Fiery Doom, Razor Sharp Undergrowth, Sunset's Fire Flows Across the Land, and Encompassing Ward.
Oh.
He was tempted by a few of these.
But went with Encompassing Ward.
Then went with Encompassing Ward.
Which is funny because, to Downpour's innate, it's just, so much defense. Because
so much
the
defense.
innate gives their presence defense, and then now this gives their presence defense. They were just like, oh, I'm just defense heavy. So we weren't blighting a whole lot this game.
Not really. I wasn't surprised to see that the newer player was just spamming defense.
Yeah.
And boy, Downpour can spam it.
Mm-hmm.
Good night, they can spam it.
I went for a major again. What's nice about Tigers hunting is it only costs 2, so I had a little extra energy, and I didn't want to keep growing in one place. That's the one downside of growth 2 for Bringer. I grow in range 0 for where I am. So basically, I'm just making sacred sites.
Sacred sites.
So I didn't want to place a 3rd presence. That sounds bad. So okay, I'll just gain a power card, and I drew some majors. I got Smothering Infestation, Infinite Vitality,
Never
Unlink
bad.
the Gates of Deepest Power.
Never bad.
And Vanish Softly Away! Which I could threshold that turn because I had just exposed my moon.
One of the best cards, in my opinion, in the game. I love this card for Mist.
Because if it's remove all damaged invaders, which is cool.
Go ahead, read it for us.
All right. So Vanish Softly Away, Forgotten by All, it's a slow power costing 3. Again, cheap. Bringer, again, some of these 3 costing powers. Man, I love them. Range 2 away, flexibility, remove 1 invader and 1 explorer/town. 1 invader for Bringer. Oof.
Remove.
Not destroy.
That's pretty helpful.
Or remove all damaged invaders. So, again, like Ryan said, incredible for Mist.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Do 1 damage to each invader, remove all damaged invaders. Oh, I'm sorry, does it literally clear this land regardless of... Yeah. Infinite, quote-unquote, damage. Not literal damage, but just infinite clearing.
And then the threshold is 3 moon and 3 air. And you're saying, well, John, you can only play 2 powers. Why are you happy about this threshold? It's 3 moon and 3 air, and I got moon and air on my top track, which I'm going down on Bringer.
Do you have any elements?
I have any elements. I have moon and air on my track. Yeah. A lot of my cards have moon and air.
Yeah.
I was able to threshold this the moment I pulled it. I played it. And the threshold is in any 2 lands, with 4 or more invaders, 4 or more, you remove 1 invader.
Yep.
So we'll get to the slow phase, but let's just say I looked for the lands with cities that had some invaders in them.
And against adversarial targets, especially at high level, you're going to have lands with more than 4 invaders in
Oh,
it.
yeah. When they're moving quick, like Brandenburg, Prussia, and they're
Yep.
going to mountains, which they've already
Yep.
been to. Yeah.
I was actually really happy. I went for another minor, and I drew Lure of the Unknown.
Ooh.
We're talking about this card a lot because it's becoming a quick favorite. Oh boy, a fast, zero-costing minor that gives me moon, air, plant, and fire?
Oh, all those great elements.
Gosh,
Yeah.
as wildfire, I need all of those. I don't care about the moon, but I need the plant, the air, and the fire.
Mm-hmm.
So perfect.
And it says, in a land that doesn't have any invaders, you may gather either a town or an explorer, which is phenomenal. One of the things that Wildfire needs is control or somehow a way to get bad guys to you.
Right.
Or you to bad guys. But usually bad guys to you, because if you go to bad guys, that means it's on someone else's land, which means you're blighting, which means you're blighting on someone else's land.
Nice.
So, not necessarily.
They're like, what are you doing
always-
here? You started this fire.
So, being able to pull bad guys to you, love it. And I was like, oh, it has all the elements that I need, and it's free. I had no money this turn. I was completely bankrupt. I didn't know what to do.
Mhm.
So I was like, well, I was able to do everything I needed to already with Firestorm. I'll talk about what I did with it later. I just played Flames Fury on myself, which is free and fast, so I'm already spending 0.
Another free card.
At the moment, this is turn 3. I haven't reclaimed yet. So I have very few cards left in my hand.
It was a good pull.
Right. All I had left in my hand was Flames Fury and Flash Fires. That's it. And I'm like, you know what? Here, if I go to this one, I can do Growth 2 to grab another power card. Maybe I can find something, but I'm completely out of quote-unquote ammo. I'm out of energy. I have no way to pay for anything that's not 0.
Yeah.
Oh, look, Lure of the Unknown.
How about that?
Perfect.
With your element.
So,
It reminds me of our Hepsbok game where I was like pushing things to the burners as river
Yeah.
when we played
Yes.
Hepsbok 6. Because Wildfire's lands get empty so quickly. Because
They
you're always
really do.
You burn things up so fast.
They
it's
really
like,
are.
And that's
Yeah.
where you said they're range 0. You would love range boosting
Right.
with Wildfire.
And the thing that's so great, it says, oh, it can't go in a land that has invaders. I'm like, that's fine. It didn't say anything about Blight.
Yeah.
I have Blight and no invaders. Perfect.
Come to me. Yeah, it was a great pull for you.
For like Thanos, usually someone else does my control, but I'm like, fine, I'll do it myself. So I was like, grab you and whatever.
Come
like,
here
go
and let's burn.
So I just grabbed an explorer who was about to build somewhere. I'm
Nice.
like, get off!
Come here.
And just, right,
You're
get
not
out of
building.
there.
Goodbye.
And the thing that was so great is because Flames Fury and Lure of the Unknown have Plant and Fire, I was able to get a decent amount of damage for Firestorm. So it says, oh, hey, Firestorm says get 1 damage for every 2 fire elements that you have.
Yeah.
And then I had 4, so that means, okay, I can do 2 damage. But since I played Flames Fury on myself, that is 3.
Nice.
And in the land that I was going to, it was my coastal sand, land number 2, where my starting city was. There was a city and 1 explorer. Well, when I grew there initially, I did 1 damage to the city. That's it.
Okay.
But then here, with the cards I just played, as I've just described, I did 3 damage. So I put 2 on the city and 1 on the explorer. Clear land.
Yay.
Yeah. It felt great. And I did that all with 0 costing cards.
0 costing cards and destroyed his starting city.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I mean, Wildfire's board, no surprise, was starting to get cleared out.
Yeah. By the end of turn 3, I had like, what, a single explorer?
Yeah, you were starting to destroy things. You had that nice counterattack from Dahan. So, yeah, your board was starting to look really good.
It was. I was actually quite happy. I was like, guys, are we actually going to win this thing? Like, in a decent competitive, like,
Yeah.
manner to the rest of you? Like, your teams?
That was interesting. We didn't quite feel the crunch that sometimes you feel.
I
Where
remember
you're like,
your
turn
game.
2 or 3, you're kind of like, oh no.
Yeah, I remember your game, Laura.
Then you managed to find that point where you're like, oh, okay. And
Find
then
your
we're good.
footing.
Jason was even talking about that, how he's used to games usually being like, what's happening for most of it? And then you're like, oh, okay, we're good. He's like, this is the first time where I didn't feel that. And this was a level 6 adversary. It was a little confusing. Because it was cool.
It was a good team makeup. We were getting good pulls, good draws. We had an event that destroyed all these towns because I was getting beasts out there. Like, things were starting to go well in our favor. Laura, you had another explosive eruption this turn.
I did. I forgot last turn, we said no slows happened. I did just check out a Badlands token.
Cool.
In a land with a city that then built a town. So I was able to explosively erupt again. I think this time I did the 4, like destroyed 4 presents.
Yeah.
So just like wiped myself out in that whole entire area. But I was able to get 4 fear along with
Yep.
it. And destroy a city and a town. And then an explorer in the mountain that I was in.
Nice.
Mm.
So, you know, it starts to add up a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Like, this was a big turn. Wildfire just burned their sands. Laura's destroying her sands, I believe it was, with all those invaders in it.
And 3 Dahan. Thanks for that.
I did kind of just go on a murderous rampage with the Dahan.
If only Volcano had a Dahan pushing power. Oh, wait, they do.
I won't give you any blight, Ryan, but I'm going to kill them Dahans.
And those are points.
Well, we figured this might happen, so we weren't too surprised.
Yeah, it was a good fast phase.
Yeah.
Well done, team.
Our event was No Bravery Without Numbers.
Invaders do not ravage inlands unless there are more invaders than the current terror level. So this kind of stung. Some of us had like one explorer against a Dahan. We're like, that's not going to ravage.
Jason's entire action economy is based off of defense and Dahan counterattack. He's like, dang it!
Yeah.
I need these people to
He
fight.
had a couple of places that had towns that
just
didn't
like
outnumber the
just
Dahan.
like one
and
town.
you're like, annoying.
After that, that kind of stunk. But there's a beast event in it, Prey on the Heedless. In each land with beasts, 1 damage per. So, I don't think we got too many kills. I think we might have killed 1 town.
But we got a lot of explorers.
But we got a lot of explorers off the board. That's basically, beasts are usually just in lands with lone invaders, explorers, or something. So, again, my beasts were doing stuff. It was cool. It was cool to see. I'm like, all right, these beasts I'm spawning are taking out explorers, potentially stopping builds from happening.
And it made me think, what would have happened if I played Fangs? You know what I mean? Like, with all this.
Good things could have happened.
It would have been a different game. I'm not sure. I honestly don't know. Could Fangs have taken out, like, a city this quickly? Maybe not, but...
It was just a thought. You know, when you see all this beast domination, you're just like, what could have happened?
It could have been nice.
Yeah, maybe.
I do remember we flipped over angry mobs, and we kind of got to plan around that.
Yes, I love angry mobs.
So this is where we were able to replace a town with explorers, which against Brandenburg is huge. They start with towns, they add towns on the escalation, they do stuff with towns.
Many towns.
So if we can replace them, that limits the source of exploration, limits maybe ravages. I remember this actually helped Jason because his 1 town became 2 explorers, so now that land was able to ravage now. I do remember that. And he's like, oh yeah, and I defended here because it was like only 1 town, so it wasn't past the terror level.
Right. There are more invaders now.
There was more invaders per the terror level. So it actually like helped Jason.
Yeah.
So things like that were cool to see, like planning around.
What's it like when the fear cards work in your favor?
Well, I think it was helpful because Bringer could help us let them work in our favor. We could plan them around them.
We weren't so surprised.
What is this narrative that fear cards
They didn't help me. They didn't help me.
We had some swings and misses.
How many times have you played Spirit Island where they have like
saved
just been
you
so great? Like the ratio
my score on those
of times where it was like help versus harm. It has to be like 95-5.
I'm genuinely coming
weird
to
that
the
you complain
realization
about
that
fear
fear
cards
cards are just sometimes annoying.
For when they miss.
When I was a newer player, it was like, oh, fear cards always good. And now, you know, you're just kind of coming to the realization. I sound like a petulant teenager. I'm tired and this coffee stinks. I'm just coming to the realization that, like, you can't count on fear cards to be helpful. It's like having a toddler help you make pancakes. And you're like, well... You stirred things, but now you dumped flour all over the place.
I'll entertain no such notions of this. It's the event cards that hurt you more than the fear cards.
I like both cards.
Fear cards help you so much. I think it's just one of those things.
Laura has had some memorable swings and misses, and that's what's sticking out in your mind.
I only remember the bad stuff.
It's the same thing that we talked about in the Misunderstanding series in part 1, where we talked about how the things that go bad are what your brain remembers versus the things that are good.
Right. So anyway,
there was
angry mobs.
There was turn 3. The explore card that we had as we closed out turn 3 was the coastal lands.
Okay, they're going
which
to the coast.
I actually didn't mind because that means that, hey, we only have 2 escalations this game, and that is it.
And we didn't have to add that extra town.
Didn't have to add extra town. In fact, we removed towns because of angry mobs as well.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, we're not adding towns, we're removing towns. This is starting to look good. You know, wildfires destroying cities, volcanoes destroying buildings and cities. So it's like, this is, all of a sudden, we're getting our footing.
Again, it's a lot of like, anything that kind of could go pretty well is kind of going pretty well.
Pretty well.
Yeah, it was pretty optimistic. So then we went on to turn 4. The halfway point of the game.
What? It's always surprising when we say that. It's like, oh yeah, we should do.
This is our 3rd BP6 game in a row. We should probably get used to this more often.
You still look down at your board and you're like, oh, I'm not going to be able to get all big.
No matter how many times I play Brandenburg 6, and it's been a fair amount, whenever that stage 3 card comes up again, it's always a surprise.
Ooh.
I always want one more stage 2 card. I'm like, we get another one, right?
Maybe just one more?
One more? No?
Yeah.
Okay, Jungle Sands. Okay.
Yep.
But yes, they move fast. Downpour, Jason got Hazard Spread, and me and Ryan lost our minds because we love this miner.
We love this card. Even if he doesn't have any token builder or not, we're just like,
Yeah,
yes,
he was like, should I do this? I don't have anything. We're like, take it.
And he was like, I don't know which card to grab, but you guys freaked out when I said Hazard Spread, so I'm going to take that one. I'm like, wait, hold up. Is it actually good for you? He was like, I don't know, but it's the one that you were the happiest about. I was like, but I don't know what you have on your board.
We were getting so lucky with Beast events, and I was playing Tiger's Hunting. I'm like, I want Beast.
Yeah.
Play it. Repeat it. Spam it.
John's like, you must take it for me.
Volcano had a draw.
I got Rouse the Trees and Stones.
Stones.
The stones.
So I think that's like a 2 damage one.
So in that one in the slow phase, I get 2 damage and push 1 Explorer. Mostly grabbed it for the elements.
Yeah, very good elements for Volcano, Fire, Mountain, and Plant.
And I was able to use it in the slow phase to clear out stuff.
Yeah,
so,
right. And when you have a spirit that has a bevy of Badlands out in the field, a card like this is actually, hey, not bad.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oof, I either reclaimed or reclaimed 1. I think I reclaimed all my cards on turn 4 because I just wanted to.
This was my first reclaim as well.
Oh, I think I needed you to reclaim because you needed to rescue me in one spot.
Laura needed Dread Apparitions. That is correct, and that is fear turns into defense. So I'm like, yeah, I'll reclaim, and then plus I got to get Tiger's Hunting again, which I'm never mad about.
Well done.
So I did, fear defense for Laura and played Tiger's Hunting again for the 3rd time.
When the bell rang, when it's like, ding, turn 4, I'm like, oh, turn 4, time for major. Ironically, I was like, oh man, I kind of almost don't want to do this because I'm like, well, I like all the cards that I have.
This was a struggle for you.
So I went for a major, and it wasn't the best selection of mine. The ones I was tempted the most with, it came down to 2. Is either Angry Bears or is Flow Like Water, Reach Like Air. And I was like, So I actually went with Flow Like Water. That one is a 2-costing fast power. Hey, it's cheap, I can afford it, and I like fast. It has water air. I don't give a crap about the water, but it has the air, so I like it.
Nice.
It can target any spirit, and that's what's really nice. Target spirit gets +2 range with all powers. Now that is nice.
All of us could like that.
That is very nice on Wildfire, because they have a slew of 0 range powers.
Mm-hmm.
So, target spirit gains +2 range all their powers, and target spirit may push one of their presence to an adjacent land, bringing up to 2 explorers to Tahan or 2 towns along with it. So, this would be hilarious on Wildfire because that means you can shove one of your presents. If someone's in that land, you can just lasso them, bring them with you, and cook them on your land of arrival.
It's so cool because I think like, oh, Wildfire gets damaged when they place presents. No, it's also when they move.
Because Wildfire gets to do damage when they place or move presents.
I always think it's just place.
Wildfire just basically gets to do
damage.
Blazing Presence simply says, post setup after your presence is added or moved in the land that it goes to, you do damage based on how many fire elements you have on your trash.
The Wildfire is spreading even when they're moving.
And getting hotter.
Yep.
And then, like we said before, the other detail that's very important to know, push all beasts, but any number of Dahan. So, like we said throughout the game, I was like, 0. I want you to stay right there.
Keep them.
But that is a fun power that I don't often see talked about for Wildfire. It doesn't have, like, a lot of their elements. Doesn't have fire, doesn't have plant, but it was cool to see you move and then destroy and give yourself bonus range.
So, I was trying to figure out which card to get rid of. I was, having a hard time with this.
You had some good pulls.
Eventually, I settled on Lure of the Unknown. I hated getting rid of it for elements, but I'm like, well, that's my control card to bring them to me. Flow Like Water lets me go to them. So it's a similar emotion.
Yeah.
The other card I was close to was Flash Fires, but I actually wanted to hold on to Threatening Flames because I'm like, fear! I want the fear!
We were fear mode.
So I went and forgot Lure of the Unknown.
On my reclaim, since again Laura made me reclaim, I was able
Thank you, baby.
I was able to gain a power. And I drew Fire in the Sky.
Nice.
Which again, like Ryan's talking, fear. It gives you 2 fear and adds a strife. So, Bringer being pretty defensive focused, you can move Dahan around. I'm like, okay, this will be good for me because I can do fear. I didn't get to play it this turn, but I'm like, this will be good on the back burner type of thing. Yeah. So, 2 fear, add a strife, not bad.
Every time I hear Fire in the Sky, I think of that Beatles song, Lucy in the Sky.
Lucy in the Sky. Yeah, that one.
Yeah, about LSD. But this time, it's fire.
It's Fire in the Sky. Yeah. So, that was my good pull.
And then things took a turn for the sour.
Oh, no.
As we went to draw from the event deck. So John goes and pulls the card, looks at it. His face immediately withers like a raisin. He looks at me and he just gives me the card.
I didn't even read it. I just handed it to you, face down.
It was Missionaries. Oh, no!
Why have we not burnt that card yet?
I'm about to.
Missionary.
Yet, at the same time, actually it wasn't so bad. But we, oh my goodness,
Just
hate
kind of
this card.
annoying.
Hate this card with a passion. We
Because
commonly
it keeps coming back.
yeah,
That's what I don't like about
reference this
Yeah, you
card
either pay
as
them
one of
off
the
or
worst.
They will not.
it. They keep coming
Yeah.
back.
So, Missionaries, the reason why it's bad, you have a choice to do two things. The first option is there is a chance that some Dahan will get converted into towns.
Not good.
Not good.
Hate that. Then, once you do this, go ahead and return this card back to the event deck.
So it keeps coming up.
Ugh. Hate it. Or, if you actually pay a bunch of energy, aided by sun, each spirit gets to add a disease to a land that has a city in it. You get 2 fear per player, which is nice, but cities do plus 3 damage.
Ouch.
Yikes. Sweden's like licking their lips. They're like, we love missionaries. 8 damage from a single building. Are you kidding me? And yet
ouch.
one strife is like, nope.
Trickster, nice pull.
Anyway, so we were like, yeah, no, we're not doing this. We're not doing the first one. We're not doing it. Nope.
But we had to give up a lot.
Yep, but we did. We did. The thing that was so funny, though, was that, the worst part about it, 2 fear per player. Hey!
Nice.
Spirits adding a disease to a land with cities. Hey!
Yeah.
The worst part, cities do plus 3 damage. Well, we actually only had a single city on the entire board.
So
It was on Jason's wetland. His land number 2 is coastal wetland. And we weren't ravaging in wetlands. So it was like completely whiff.
I'm gonna give myself a quick pat on the back. Vanish softly, forgotten by all.
Yeah.
Took away 2 cities.
2 cities
And
in
2
one go.
towns.
And 2 towns. So I'm very happy it was thresholded, and it's so nice where it could be any land on the board as long as there's 4 invaders. So if you're thinking, how did they get rid of so many cities? Like, how did they have only 1 city left? Well, Wildfire was doing wildfire things. Volcano was doing volcano things. And then even Bringer was removing cities.
Yo.
So we only had 1 city left. I mean, we had a bunch of towns, but we had
Right.
1 city left.
And
And
like Brian said, it wasn't ravaging. So.
And the thing that was funny was, since it says each player adds a disease
Yeah.
to a land with a city, it didn't say like once per board or anything. We're like, well, I guess that one city gets 4 disease.
It's a very sick town.
Just so much Rona.
Bubonic plague.
Yeah, the rats
All of them
are everywhere.
Just all the plagues.
Scurvy?
The potato famine. Why not? Throw gout in there. Who
Yeah,
cares?
that's
Just everything.
every disease is in there.
COVID ground zero.
Early onset diabetes. Just everything.
Diabetes. But none of us are sun spirits.
Oh
Nope.
no.
Because we had to pay for this thing.
I had all
Yeah.
this money saved up for some good stuff.
Pay up.
There it all went.
Yep.
Remember I was happy about Fire in the Sky? Not anymore.
Bye.
I was seriously like, oh, nice.
Strife final. Oh.
Not
And it's
no
gone. Yep.
more. Remember Encompassing Ward? Oh, this extra
Yeah.
defense.
Boom.
Bye. And the thing was funny, Jason's like, so what do we do? John's like, forget that card. He's like,
He was like, you were saying it was so good. I'm like, yeah.
you're down for it. You do that anyway.
Yeah,
Goodbye.
yeah, you're fine. But you said it was good to pair with it. I'm like, yeah, I'm over it now.
Yeah.
Move on, kid.
We're in the end game now.
Yeah, we need that sun.
Yep, I discarded Flame's Fury, so not much. And I paid an energy.
I, no joke, look at minor powers differently if they have a sun because of this one event.
Really?
Really?
I'm not kidding.
That's
like,
fair.
Delusions
Yeah.
of
No.
Danger, it's
Yeah.
not the best minor. It's like either 2 fear or push 1 explorer. Meh. It's got a sun.
Hey!
Okay. This could come in handy later.
Growth through
idea.
Goes through sacrifice. So
Especially if you're gonna play a longer game, just keep something in your back pocket
yeah, I mean,
for this
Yeah.
specific stupid card.
stupid card. Anyway, so we paid for it. And
So we paid for it, yep. And then the beast part of that event went to go on and kill 5 explorers.
more bees is going off.
Oh, it was so great.
It was awesome.
I was like, man, the bees are carrying us.
Tigers hunting.
The way I look at it, it's like Revenge for Bentley. You know?
That's true. What a wildly different game. We had one beast.
Remember the Bentley.
We had one snapping turtle for one of our games, and for this game we had like 10
Who got
beasts.
drawn into
So
a
many
consuming
beasts.
void.
Yeah, who died in a black hole. Oh, remember me. But this game, it was just like tigers everywhere.
Remember Bentley.
Night and day games.
Yep. For the fear card, we got 2 of them
Two fear
happening this
cards.
time, which, if you're keeping track at home, was our 3rd and 4th fear card. Bring us to Terror Level 2. So in all the other games, we were probably getting our 2nd fear card in turn 4. Here, we got our 4th. We got Mimic the Dahan and Wary of the Interior. Hey, Wary of the Interior. Get rid of a town or an explorer in an inland land. Sweet.
Nice.
So I think we, all 3 of us got rid of 4 towns.
Yeah, we just kept getting rid of buildings.
Flick,
Yeah.
flick, flick, flick. Just get off the board. And Mimic the Dahan, I believe, is the one where you can actually... This is where we got some Dahan back, where you convert explorers or towns into Dahan so long as Dahan outnumber them.
Yes, each player replaces one explorer/town with a Dahan if there are 2 or more Dahan in the land.
Yeah. So we were just like, the only way to get Dahan back on this team! Quick!
It was. We did.
One last push.
We did add more Dahan, and again, we were removing buildings. We're removing
Yes.
towns. This was huge.
It was.
There's so many events or fear
Yep.
cards or just getting rid of buildings for Ryan. It was awesome.
Mhm.
Or for all of us, but for Ryan's game.
Yep. And so, once we had gotten through the event card and fear card part of the turn, bad guys did their turn.
Yep.
And Jason played Foundations a once, a twice, and a thrice to destroy that city that was uber diseased.
So now
in his coastal wetland.
that city is gone.
Gone. And we kind of looked up at each other like, hey, wait a minute.
Wait a second.
We had
This
that
board
moment.
is surprisingly clear.
Those fear cards took out some towns. We got explosive spirits taking out buildings. I'm vanishing things away. Downpours repeating
Just took out a
things.
city.
Just took out a city.
Dudes.
Are we about to...
Kind of that moment where you're like,
That
I think
spark of
we
maybe.
can?
Hey, wait a minute. We're getting close here, fellas.
But it's only turn 4.
we're not supposed
Right.
to win until turn 6.
Turn 6 or
Or
7 or something. What's happening?
We flipped the Explore card and it went to Sands and Mountains.
Ugh.
Of which,
Did we get-
3 of them?
Did we get jungle ever?
No,
No.
All right.
this seems to happen.
There were 3 or 4 that didn't explore due to no source of invaders.
Yeah.
That was
Because
awesome.
we removed so many buildings, and even Downpour would throw a random
Yeah.
isolate or something. We had a lot of swings and misses this turn for
Uh,
explore-wise.
To the listener at home, I took pictures of the various turns in the game. So if you want, you can go ahead and look at the board state at turn 4 going into turn 5. And we were like, wow, this is surprisingly clear.
This is looking pretty good.
So you can see what I was talking to. So I kind of wanted to make sure I took more pictures of this one. So I wanted to take a picture at the start of every turn. And I forgot turn 3. Sorry.
Oh, no.
So- I was getting into it. I was so
Yeah,
focused.
yeah.
I forgot to take a picture at the start of turn 3. So sorry.
Oh, well.
We then moved on to turn 5.
Turn 5 was when we started it out going, guys, we have, 4 towns and 1 city left?
Oh,
I want to say 4 towns and 1 city left. I know I was in one of the towns, another town was close to me, one was in John's board, and maybe a city and a town.
Was
in
on a
Jason's.
coastal land on Jason's because they had just built
Yeah.
the coastal
Yes.
lands and they were about to ravage.
Well, in fact, I have the picture. We can go ahead and find out.
Oh, that's true.
On my board, there was none. On John's board, there was a town. In Jason's board, there was 2 towns and a city. And on Laura's board, there was a town. So she is right. 1, 2, 3, 4 towns.
All right, can we get rid of these 4 towns?
Before they build.
And we're like, hey, can we do it in the fast phase / before the event
Ravage?
cards
Yeah.
screw this all up for us? And Laura was like, you mean when the fear cards screwed up? I'm like, stop it! Stop talking about fear cards so
Fear cards
negatively.
are good. We like fear.
You all know I'm right.
No.
No, you're
you
wrong.
are not.
You're wrong. As a Shadows main, you are so wrong. I depend on fear cards
As a
to
Mist
win.
main.
Yeah, we need those to win.
There are maybe 5 to 10 people in this community who you cannot convince with this, and 2 of them are right here.
Yeah, fear is good.
Anyway, comedy aside, this was one of those turns where hey, yo, folks, I think it can happen, but let's talk.
Let's put our heads together.
And so we did some planning. I went for another card, another minor. I found Gift of Nature's Connection.
Yeah.
Which is hooray, because we need, or really want, elements a lot of the time and finding element cards when you have someone like, well, honestly, any one of us.
Yeah,
who detriments from getting more elements? But we were thinking of Downpour.
Yeah.
Could be like, ooh, Downpour loves getting maybe just like one more water or something.
They're
for
always
another
one
repeat.
water short, yeah.
Or maybe another energy.
Yes.
And hey, doesn't Gift of Nature's Connection either give energy or elements?
How about that?
Nice.
Handy.
So I grabbed Gift of Nature's Connection.
I decided let's go for a major, like finally right here at the end, and I pulled Volcanic Eruption.
Whoa!
And then John took it out of my hand and made me take Trees and Stones Speak of War instead.
Okay. Well, I saw what Laura pulled, and we started to chat. You said
We did.
You said this is a cool card. It has me on the art. I can't afford it. And then she started adding it to her hand. And I'm like, if you can't play it, why are we taking it?
I wanted to.
Right, and
have
I was
it.
saying you can already do this because if you're innate.
Yeah, if you're left innate, that does a volcanic eruption.
I wanted to own something pretty.
Something part of me.
It was mine. But he made a good case. I had 3 presents in my mountain where I was going to blow up anyway to destroy my town. I could reach to Jason's town with my extra range
Yeah.
from that mountain, and there was already a Dahan. John could move some Dahan into that area.
Dreams
that
of the Dahan,
land,
baby.
And I would be able to play Trees and Stones Speak of War, and I could afford it.
Speak to what this power does, for those who don't know.
For each Dahan in target land, 1 damage and defend 2. So if I just got 1 more Dahan in there, then we'd be able to do 2 damage and kaboom.
It's kind of like Vigor, Vigor of the Breaking Dawn. But instead of like 2 damage per Dahan, it's 1 damage. But again, all we needed was a couple Dahan in there, and I think we were just looking for fast offense or something to
Something
downgrade.
like we can win now.
Something
We were
we can-
looking for ways that we can try to potentially clinch it in the fast phase.
Yes.
Yes.
And Volcanic Eruption wouldn't do that. And you couldn't even play it this turn because you had no money because we just spent so much on missionaries.
Mm.
So we're just like, okay, this is fast offense and it's cheap. And
It made sense for the team.
Yeah. So Laura drew that one.
Yeah.
On John's board, on his coastal wetland,
Mhm.
there was 1 town. That's the only building that John had on his board. And I was like, well, I haven't really made any plans for this turn quite yet. I haven't done much. Everyone else was nearing completion on what they should do with their powers and whatnot.
Yeah.
I was like, well, what should I do with mine? And John was like, can you do something about this town? I'm like, yes, I can.
It's range 3 away.
And Growth 2 says, place a presence 3 away. So I was like, yeah! I just jumped all the way across the board 3 lands and just landed on that wetland.
Just skipped on
And
in.
since I had 2 exposed fire on my tracks, that town went bye-bye.
I will say this was I liked my neighbors, all of them, because obviously with Tiger's Hunting, I did a lot of fear destroying, which would then push.
Yeah.
So I would push either to Downpour, where foundations would sink, or I'd push to Laura or you, where things would get burned alive.
Yeah.
And then it was just nice as a bringer main. Again, you built a really good team. We can talk about team comp later, but I wasn't able to destroy, but I had such offensive spirits surrounding me.
Yeah.
Because when you say John only had 1 building, like, how does Bringer only have 1 building on the board? Well, Vanish Softly was helpful. But when
Dahan are also.
Dahan counterattacking are
Fear cards did a lot.
cards.
Beast events did a lot.
So, again, yeah, there's a bevy of reasons, but having such offensive neighbors for Bringer,
Yeah.
speaking as a Bringer player from that game, that was so helpful.
Yep.
It's so fun to collaborate.
It's
with
so
this
fun.
And see the different characters interact with each other.
Because that is my number 1 flaw. I can't get rid of things.
Mm.
But when I have, Laura going boom, boom.
But you can help.
Yes.
And helping others
I can
often
help.
has a fun way of helping yourself.
So, yeah, it was very cool to help with flipping fear cards. I remember giving Jason an element. I was able to gift 1 element. Like Ryan saying, we kept throwing water to Jason. Here's another water. He's like, cool, I get to repeat again. I'm like, nice.
Nice.
So, yeah, just quick sidebar. Really cool as Bringer to have such an offensive team where I was trying to earn a lot of fear, then you guys were just doing the boom booms.
Yep. So I took out John's town.
Mm-hmm.
1 down, 3 to go, and a city.
John moved some Dahan.
Dreams of the Dahan. I skirted some Dahan into land 8 on Jason's board into the jungle.
I did that card I just talked about that I forgot the name of.
Trees and stones, speak
Yep.
of war.
And then I blew up in my own area and destroyed another town.
So-
So that's all the towns off the board except for that 1 land in Jason's land with
That
a
is
town and a
3
city.
towns
3
down.
towns.
1 town, 1 city to go. And that town and that city are in the same land.
Jason's coastal lands. So I'm like, okay, coastal jungle. Here we
Here we
go.
Here we go. in that jungle that we had on Jason's board, Jason was setting up, yet again, more Dahan counterattacks.
I think he played Sap twice again, or repeated Sap,
So
and
he had
did
like
defend
10
Yeah.
in there, and there were so many Dahans.
Yep.
So,
So
like,
we
hey,
need the Dahan to fight.
Yes.
so we killed all the buildings except for these ones in this land, and they'll die in the Ravage. The only thing that we don't need to happen is for the event to screw it up.
What does the event do to us, Ryan?
So, we had gotten Dahan trade with the invaders. Dang it! Once again, we just had this one the other game with Seth.
Again, who shuffles?
So, honestly, there's events that are just like, explorers go one extra distance. Who cares? You know, there's like some
Right.
events that are so
Right.
harmless, you know? It's just like,
Sure.
oh, they do an extra build, and that would have been fine for us because they wouldn't have gone to the build
Right.
phase. Like, there's some events that are just swing and miss. If lands have blight with this in it, then they ravage. Like,
Right.
so many things could have gone perfect for us,
Yeah.
and then we got this one.
And then we got this one.
Uh,
So the players have 3 choices available to them. Option 1, Dahan do not participate in Ravages this turn.
Can't have
no,
that.
thank you.
Blech. Can't have that. We win if the Dahan counterattack and kill these buildings. So we're not doing that one. All right. Option 2. Okay, this option costs 2 energy per player, so that's 8, and it's aided by fire. Okay.
Okay.
That one could be
Right,
easy.
We got some fire
Each
spirits.
spirit with Dahan in their lands destroys one of them and generates a fear. We don't want to destroy Dahan. We want to have a good score. Okay, well, let's go ahead and check out option 3. Okay, option 3 costs 6 per player.
Ouchies.
Yikes! Aided by air. Dahan do not participate in Ravages this turn. Like, are you kidding
We
me?
didn't even read the rest of what that did.
We didn't even read the rest because, like, okay, option 1, Dahan don't counterattack. Option 3, Dahan don't counterattack.
Can't do those.
Option 2, Dahan get killed. I'm like, well, I'd rather you die than
not fight.
How dare you give me this stupid event? So we actually did that one. And hey, thing that was funny was it says, oh, each spirit with Dahan in their lands. That was only 2 of us.
Yeah.
So it really wasn't that bad.
So it wasn't the worst, but
Could have been better.
We'll talk about more later. So we lost 2 Dahan.
So we lost 2 Dahan, but the counterattack still went off in the Ravage phase, which means that we had a Terror 2 turn 5 victory. Let's go!
The quickest win.
Ha! Yes! My team had the fastest win. Oh, I was so happy. I
Well
was
done,
like,
Ryan.
yes! Dude, I was feeling good. Like, the board was like so, I'm not going to say clear, but I will say clear. It was like
Yeah,
so
it was
clear.
nice.
Like, it
It
was
was nice.
really good looking too. There was less blight on this board than in Laura's game.
There was.
Somehow.
Come on, Stone.
Stone.
But wow, we were just like, yes! Fast phase of turn 5.
Turned quicker than both Laura and I.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, yes! Yes! And of course, we were just like, okay, we're so eager to see what the score is going to be. So we tallied it all up. We looked at how much Dahan were left, how much Blight was left, how many Invader cards were left in the deck, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And as a refresher, Laura got a score of 64 in her game.
Not bad.
John got a score of 67 in his game.
Better.
Well done.
And in this game today, we scored a
13.
What? No. There's a victory, so that's
a 66.
Oh!
Dang it.
Whoa.
I was 1. So we looked at the Blight, we looked at the Dahan. We would get a point for every 4 Dahan on the field. We had 23.
Oh no.
Wow.
Meaning that we had 25 a second ago.
Before the
But
event.
that event goes in and says, no, frick you, and just takes the rug out from my feet, and now I get not 5 points for Dahan. I could have gotten 6. But now I get 5, which means that my score would have been tied with John.
Ryan saw the gold medal and he was just like, there it is.
Of course, it's event that ruined it for me. I was like, are
1
you
point.
kidding me? I
Amazing.
was so mad. I was like,
That's full circle
so
right
close.
there. Yeah, that's poetic.
Yep, it is poetic, frankly. But no, in truth, I'm actually quite happy. We never flipped the blight card. We won, and we won the fastest out of any of the teams.
I've lost many Brandenburg Prussian
Yeah.
games. These
Yep.
games are tough. Things could get very swingy. You could get a bad turn two, bad events. Yeah, you won.
Yeah.
Dude, that's
So
awesome.
I was happy.
Yeah.
I was happy. And
Yeah.
the thing is look how close it was.
All-
a single point.
In all the
A
scores.
single point.
A single
It was
point.
pretty huge.
Each one of us was a single event card away from winning or losing.
Yeah.
So we basically all did the same. So this whole takedown
but
series
we
was
didn't.
pointless.
But we did. I won.
Ironically, I actually had some sort of competitive urges rise before the game happened. Like I was actually starting to get a little bit of
You
the
have
competitive
competitive
urges.
Oh.
But not against John, against all of you and how you voted in the polls. Only
That's true. They did not have faith in you in the polls.
Nope. And I'm like, you know what? I want all of you to be wrong.
that's
And
amazing.
of course, I say this very much dipped in sarcastic jest, but just there's a part of you, it's like when everyone expects you to fail, maybe you do want to succeed, you know? And I don't truly ultimately care, but I do want to stick it to everyone who doubted me so quickly.
Screw you.
And yes, no, still sarcastic, still jesting, because I see the reasoning of why they voted in the way that we did, because, hey, for funsies, halfway through this whole series, we had people vote on an impromptu poll that we threw up there, like, hey, I'm curious what people's thoughts were. We'll go over those stats some other time, as we feel as if that's a different topic. But it was funny how we were just like, I'm really curious to see now how these will go out because of other people's opinions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, yes, at the very end, the event restricted me from getting...
First.
Victory.
Tied for first
Yeah.
place.
That would have been funny, though. You and Laura tied in the same speed, but
Yes.
you and I could have tied on the same score.
But you had the fastest win. That counts
Yep.
for something.
All I truly wanted ultimately was just to be in the running.
Yeah. Oh,
I
for
just
sure.
wanted to
You
be
were.
in the running
Yeah. You were...
and have a few uniquenesses. Like Laura, remember how she killed the most towns
Yeah.
in her game? You know, I just want to have something that was unique to my team that was like fun for them. So if we go ahead and look at some of the stats here, we had a Terror 2 victory on turn 5. The score was 66, like we stated. In this game, we killed 43 explorers. In John's game, he killed 48 explorers, and in Laura's game, she killed 35. So I had the second most explorers killed.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to towns, John killed 33, Laura killed 37, and I killed 17.
What?
This has a lot to do with us stopping a lot of builds, with Wildfire
Yeah.
not letting builds, Downpour, moving explorers around, Tigers hunting, scaring
And there was
invaders
a
off.
whole turn that never happened.
Oh.
So there was less
that's
time to
true.
make
That's
things
true.
happen.
That's true.
When it comes to cities, John killed 9, Laura killed 10,
Yeah.
and my team killed 7.
We
So
didn't
I
let-
had the least.
We didn't let cities build
No.
very often in this
No.
turn.
Yeah, because we had less time in the game.
Yeah.
Just the game literally lasted shorter, so the opportunity to kill more invaders wasn't as apparent in this one as in your guys' games.
Yeah.
And, like Laura said, we got to a lot of them because we killed a lot of explorers. Hey, I killed 43. That's not bad.
No,
I
not bad.
almost got yours, John. Like, I almost got close to matching you. You had killed 48. So, when it comes to invaders killed, we had a grand total of, in my game, 67, in Laura's game, 82, and in John's, 90.
Wow.
Wow.
So, John had the
And
highest
most
score
invaders.
I'm a little bit surprised about that. But
and the highest amount of kills. However, those are all mostly because of explorers.
yeah.
And massive flooding does work.
Massive flooding just wipes so much out. So that's basically what those invader kills are.
But Laura has the most building kills.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of my team wasn't really concerned about explorers. We were like,
Yeah.
let it build, and then we'll hit it.
And then go boom boom.
Yep. And it is important to state for the record that for my kills of 43 explorers, 17 towns, and 7 cities, 2 of those cities and 2 of those towns were actually removed, not killed.
Yeah.
But
vanish.
technically, they were removed, not killed. We also had an event downgrade, or in this case, replace 4 towns with 8
Mhm.
explorers. as well, but I didn't consider those in my kill count because that was a fear card that did it.
Right.
And something was left on the board as a result of them. But I'd count the removed ones as enemies vanquished.
Yeah.
So, in this game, we had blighted 5 times, twice, naturally, and 3 times from ya boy, Wildfire.
I think that speaks to a lot of how strong Downpour is with how much defense they can do. Like, to only blight twice against Brandenburg. I guess we have fast offensive players who are destroying before they ravage, and then we have Downpour and even Bringer doing a lot of defense.
But as far as natural, hey, they actually got us, it was only twice.
Yeah.
Well done.
And we knew what it was. Like, we'll just take one.
And Volcano never put it on the board. So
That's right.
You're welcome.
And that was something that was actually pretty cool to see because Laura did small explosions. Controlled detonation volcano, not big boom volcano.
Because you've done a 10-stack, Laura. We just, like, destroy the inner part of the island.
That's like all she does under normal circumstances.
Yeah.
But she was very considerate of my blight plight. My fright of the blight plight. And so I was actually quite happy about that.
Oh, yeah.
Jason had healed a blight, and so did I. I was going to heal another one, but the game had ended prior to the slow phase happening in turn 5, so I would have removed another one. So, with the fear and event cards, they killed 10 explorers, 8 towns, and no cities.
Wow.
And they actually killed 2 Dahan right at the end.
We don't talk about this.
Yeah. So, John's game, the fear and event cards had killed 10 explorers and 5 towns, no cities. And in Laura's game, 8 explorers, and that's it.
Yeah,
so in my game,
no town luck for fear or event cards.
I had
that's
the
why
most.
The fear cards and the events cards stunk for me.
Yeah.
In my game, the fear and event cards actually killed the most, which was ironic.
I think because we were able to peek at the fear deck, and a lot of beasts were out on the board due to tigers hunting. So that was
pretty big.
That was nice because it was fun to plan around a fear card. I do like that about Bringer.
Oh my goodness.
It's just like, we need 2 Dahan here so they can, convert a town. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And we would just move Dahan around and figure it out.
Right. So we had earned a grand total of 79 fear in this game. John, you had actually earned 81 fear in yours, and Laura had 76. But here's one thing that's cool, though. We earned 79 fear in 5 turns. You did 81 in 6 turns. Yeah. So you had an entire turn to just get 3. So as far as like the ratio of like the average fear per turn, I had an average of 15.8 fear a turn. And you had 13.5.
Yeah.
So this team still had an average of higher fear gain than yours did, which none of us are surprised.
No.
All of us were scary.
Yep.
All of us.
The blight card would have been Disintegrating Ecosystem. It's actually not the worst one. It says, immediately on each board, destroy 1 beast. Then add a blight to a land that has buildings in it. That's it.
I would have been sad.
It's not the worst.
I would have been sad about
it would have been like oh man.
That would have hurt the score.
Right.
Yeah.
Because that's more blight, and for you, fewer Bentleys.
Yeah, for tigers hunting.
But we probably could have survived that.
We could have, but I was glad we didn't.
Yeah.
Yep. So, let's go ahead and talk about everyone's build, or like kind of what strategy did you have?
For Bringer, pure top track. Yeah, I don't even look at the bottom track. Yeah, so really went into majors. I found some cheap ones that
majors Bringer
that either removed or did damage. I got a beast one. So yeah, obviously we kind of talked about my build, but yeah, just focused on fear and some swing and majors.
Yeah.
I kind of talked about already. My goal was not to blight, mostly.
Mm-hmm.
Do small booms, and I did that.
You had a pure hybrid build.
Pure hybrid. Yep. 3 from top, 3 from bottom.
That's my go-to, just because I like it when everything's even.
Yep. It's very aesthetically pleasing
to
the.
Not to do that, but
No, hey, each has its pros, each has its cons. I also like hybrid builds. Jason also went pure top track with Downpour as well. He just kind of leaned heavily into the elements because that's what he wanted.
He was trying to trigger that innate. He loved defending.
Yeah, he loved it. And he wanted to make sure that he had his bases covered in a game of this difficulty. I also, like Laura, went hybrid. I went a bottom track focused hybrid, but I got to 3 card play and I pulled from 1 on top track because I was like, okay, I got that 1 fire element and I'm good to go there. I can actually bank off of Flame's Fury and the Growth 3 Energy Spike, along with my decently cost cards that you start the game with, and actually just fine.
Yeah.
You can get by just fine with your energy economy. Of course, if you want to go for majors, not bad to go top track a little bit. Or just, hey, do that third growth option again.
Sure.
This time, I also went very much kind of like what Laura did with Volcano. I just basically wanted to nickel and dime and do attacks everywhere as often as I could. Not necessarily anything eccentric that's not beyond Wildfire's standard kind of modus operandi that I like to do with them. It's true that I did go a little bit different. I usually go do either top track and then bottom track, just do the first 2 of each, just to get the 2 fire elements, and then go bottom track from there. This time I actually did bottom track first, because I wanted to get more cards to try to match Brandenburg Prussia's speed. But besides that, my play of the game, if I have one, was just constant small damage attacks in the fast phase.
That sounds a lot like Laura's, because we were talking about like this play of the games in general.
Yeah.
Just like both of you were just like,
Yep.
you know, Laura didn't have a 30 damage
Right. No, she was
manifestation.
doing controlled detonation volcano.
And you
just
didn't
small
have-
explosions all game.
Yeah.
And then you didn't have like a Pillar of Living Flame
Nope.
major pull or something.
Nope.
They asked me what my play of the game was, and I was like, well, I showed up.
Yeah.
That was my play.
Yeah, I mean, but honestly, you played a steady volcano game of like every single turn doing damage.
Yep.
Type of thing.
And she gave me energy so many times.
I did do that.
That was amazing. Thank you.
It allowed you
You're
to go
welcome.
bottom track.
Yeah.
Even your major pull, Ryan, like Flow, was, you know, wasn't a heavy hitter, but you were able to stop a build and move a presence and give you extra range. Like, even those little things.
No, it was great. That was
build
when they
ravage.
had 2 explorers on my coastal jungle because they just gone to coastal lands.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm just going to grab one of my presents from my starting sand because
Scoot
it's
it
one
over there,
away,
yeah.
go in there and just cook both of these guys.
Yeah.
And now it's clear.
And even when we were talking to Jason, what did Jason say about his play of the game?
Honestly, sap the strength of multitudes and dark skies loose a stinging rain.
Dark Skies stopped so many builds.
Yeah.
And isolated.
And isolated a lot.
Yeah, especially when that's spamming. I know he would only play 1 card, but...
You know, it was weird. I had so many less invaders on my board because we didn't let a whole lot of people get on the board.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people never spawned or never built or were killed early. A lot of explorers died. Yes, I didn't have the most amount of explorers, but my team killed 43.
Sure.
Even in 5 turns. Like, we killed so many of them. The event cards killed so many of them. And the fear cards. I mean, turn 2, freaking 18 invaders died.
Wow.
18!
Yeah.
I mean, with more time to develop, that is how, if those explorers go on to develop more buildings, that is how teams like yours could have 35 and 37 town kills.
Mm-hmm.
I only had 17 because we killed so many explorers.
You stopped him at the source, right?
Yeah.
Honestly, this game wasn't as tense for me.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I was afraid and scared in the early stages of the other games. Here, I was like, okay, turn 2. Okay, once I saw that we had 2 fear cards in turn 2, I was like, this is actually pretty good. And I was like, turn 2 is a freaking bloodbath. Look at this. And I showed like my notes. Look how many people we killed. Like,
It is, yeah. With all the defense that you pulled, the defense that Downpour was doing, and then you 2 killing.
yeah.
I'm trying to think of my play of the game, and I was thinking, like, you know, the majors, and I even typed that out. I'm like, you know, I had good majors. Tiger's Hunting, obviously, really good pull. Vanish, got to remove buildings, which is so huge for Bringer. I am going to land my play of the game, or games, my plays, whatever. I think looking at the fear card was really clutch.
Yeah.
For the team.
Yeah.
Mm.
Seriously.
I think setting up fear cards, I know Laura complains that she had some swings and misses. We almost never missed on a fear card.
it was
They were
great.
good this time.
Because either we were fortunate or we were just able to plan it and
Yeah.
move Dahan or
Oh,
move
I
a
love that
beast
so
or
much.
something.
So much.
So that was really fun for Bringer. That's such a support that people forget about Bringer.
Yeah.
Type of thing. There's like, Bringer can only do fear. It's like, man, flipping a fear card's huge support.
I think that's funny. In a 5-turn game, you played Tiger's Hunting 4 times.
That is a pretty good play of the game.
Growth 2, baby.
Growth 2. Love it. And it was fun. I think there was like 9 beasts on the board by the end of the game. Like, it was just like this horde of beasts out there.
Yeah, and also you finding Vanish.
Yeah.
I can't kill people as Bringer, but removing
But I can
still gets it off the
remove.
board.
So yeah, these were good plays, but I think I like
Yeah.
the team support because I just like support aspect of flipping a fear card.
You know what's funny? There was no eccentric, massive thing that happened.
No.
No.
Even less so than your game, John. I
I
think
even
this
had-
was even more mellow.
I had massive flooding in my game. Laura had
It's
manifestation
like
of
the
power
games
and glory.
got calmer as we went.
Yeah.
We got more, I don't know, more experience with Brandenburg
And
or...
it's funny to see how each of the games, there's like an emotion that was like similar from each of us incorporated into the game.
Do tell.
Laura's was all about high risk, high damage, big boom slugfest.
Yeah, it was.
And that's Laura.
That game, literally, yes, was 100% a slugfest. Like, we took some knockout hits, but then we fought back.
I'll say that was still my favorite game.
Yeah, makes sense. You picked the team.
John's game was all lean on me, scratch my back, I scratch yours.
Support.
We are just supporting everyone.
We talked so much in that game.
John's game was so collaborative that we were just all leaning on each other. And that's exactly the kind of utility-based support style that John loves. In my game, it was all the small fires. Nickel and diming, but everywhere.
Little fires everywhere.
Yep.
Ryan loves efficiency.
I love that. And that's exactly like, isn't it weird how each of our characteristics show up in each of these games?
Efficient.
Yeah.
It's pretty fun.
Yeah.
Yep. And like, nope. The occasional, and then nope. Like, every now and then there's a turn where you have to go crazy, but like, just so many explorers died. And I'm just happy that my team got done the fastest.
Yeah.
So, thoughts on the team composition, everyone?
What do you think, Ryan? It is your team. You made this team. I want to hear your thoughts first.
I knew this team would be scarier. I was surprised at how much other people besides Bringer were scary. And Bringer was still very scary, and I was so glad that Bringer was here. Oh my goodness. It is definitely my preference to have heavy fear potency on Team Good Guy.
Okay.
I mean, we've just played 3 games where the approaches were all over the map. Oh, I love having a fear spirit.
But yeah, Laura's team and even my team didn't have dedicated fear spirits.
No, we did not.
This was surprisingly good. I mean, Downpour and Bringer are like the defensive and supportive glue, and Wildfire and Volcano are just very easily picking people off.
Yeah.
It felt really good.
I think this was a very surprising synergy that I was not expecting.
Yeah.
To be honest.
I mean,
when I first looked at your team.
Yeah.
It
worked surprisingly well. I mean, one thing that was really cool was, obviously, when you're looking at Wildfire and Volcano, the big concern is, Blight. Blight's going to be this big thing. But much like Vengeance, you can have any of these spirits and a very not Blight-heavy game. You see, the thing that was nice was Volcano's here. Sure, they can place Blight if you choose that style, but Downpour's here to take it off. And Wildfire takes it off almost as easy as I put it on. So it was like a wash. I've blighted more with less Blight-friendly spirits in the game.
I think that speaks to the experience of you two of knowing how to play a controlled game with these spirits. Like, Laura knows how she can go boom with Volcano and throw Blight everywhere.
Right.
And you know how you can just unlock all the fires on the tracks and just Blight City, but do a lot of damage. But you guys have also played these spirits in different ways. I don't know, it was cool to see, like, veterans playing maybe differently than they would have. Ryan talked about, doing a different build. Laura talked about, smaller eruptions. Like, that was cool for me to see a controlled attack from you two.
This was a strange team. I had the most concern and worry about this team, kind of. Because, I mean, if I think about it, I guess I'm not super surprised, but this was the one whose value was best seen in person, not on paper.
Yeah. I'd agree with that.
Because, like, you look at Laura's team of S tiers, and this team actually got a higher score. What? But like we said, extenuating circumstances, any game can go awry. Any game.
The events hated me.
And the fear cards.
Hey, they hated me too, kid.
No,
I could have had a gold trophy.
I could have had a gold trophy. I could have been at the top of the podium.
What might have been. I'll take the silver, I guess. I'm kidding. But you know what I mean? Like, on paper, you're like, this could be wonky.
Like, what?
But it turned out like it worked pretty well.
Really well.
Worked out really well.
So, like, how did it do specifically against BP6?
Yeah.
Well, when you think about it, Wildfire, really good right out of the gate.
Yep.
Downpour can be really good right out of the gate. Bringer can be really good right out of the gate.
Depends on that nature pool, baby.
But if it's good, be really great. And
even Volcano
can be really good
too.
Yeah.
Bam. Like, there's a lot of really good sprinters here. I felt as if we got ahead, like, we were able to keep the edge going. Like, oh, Brandenburg could get the edge on you, but we were able to like keep the edge on them.
Mm-hmm.
And we were able to stay just a little bit ahead of them, I felt. Mm-hmm. So, like, as far as speed, I'm actually kind of glad that we had Wildfire.
Yeah.
I'm curious what might have happened with Fangs, but I'm not sure if Fangs would have ended this quick. I don't know. See, I don't know. Because, like...
Well, that's it. We're going back upstairs. We're playing again.
Jason, come back.
Maybe in the off-season.
It's hard because had I not pulled Tigers Hunting, you would not be rethinking this, I don't think.
Yeah,
I feel like
we wouldn't have had all the beasts out there.
No, I
had 9 beasts.
I was thinking this 2 days ago.
Oh, okay.
Just what would happen? What would change? I don't know. How would it be different? Because those were the 2 I was given. It was either Wildfire or Fangs. And I was like, I went with Wildfire for speed.
Because, I mean, that's a question that we've asked everyone here, is like, do you wish you had anyone different?
Well,
Laura wanted Ocean, she said. Because who'd you swap out? You said Keeper.
I think so, for Ocean.
Yeah, just for having fear.
Yeah.
Because Keeper just kind of did their own thing anyway and didn't really, like, synergize with the rest of the team necessarily. There's the big hitter. But Ocean would be a big hitter.
I'm not gonna lie.
Ocean Finder is great.
I miss Shadows. I miss Foreboding Shadows on my team.
Yeah.
I miss that Fear Sphere. Me and Laura both.
Let's do it again, but this time the only selection is from the burn pile.
No!
That's a great idea. I love that.
Get me my mist. Get me the fracture.
Lord, you can have Vengeance.
Okay.
You can have the Lizard.
You can get your Ocean back.
You get Ocean back.
That could be another season thing.
That actually would be kind of fun.
No, I think that would be kind of cool. It would stay.
Okay, but
it's like East versus West.
Here's
this
how
was
we
like
have to
the
do
East.
it, though. There's no nice orderliness. We take all the boards, we chuck them in the middle of the room.
What?
And we say, go. And you just start grabbing.
How are you a teacher? Do you do this with your kids? Who
we
gets
can
pencils
just
today,
have
kids?
the listeners pick for us.
Oh,
there we go, or something, or whatever. Anyway, but another thought,
play a game of
dude.
spoons.
Fangs would have been out of the gate early fast too.
Definitely.
So either way, I had a good sprinter, I guess, whether Wildfire or Fangs. So honestly, like this team was able to like keep pace with Brandenburg in the early game, I felt.
I like this team. I think it was a good one. It's hard for me to switch out. I think Wildfire was the right choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were able to clean up blight. You were controlled, like we were saying. You never cascaded. You know, you never lost control with your blight.
You didn't become a problem.
No.
Nope. And neither did you.
Yeah.
Hooray.
I'm thinking about this burn pile. It's like, say we have an England draft. And everyone picks, you know.
We'll still
we're
probably
play
keep
England
it Brandenburg, Prussia.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, the burn pile versus England would suck.
Okay, that could be kind of fun to be like, guys, we're going to play a game. We're probably not going to win it. Here we are.
Because obviously, like...
Trickster, anyone?
Yeah, obviously, everyone's going to draft, like, Ocean or the Destroy spirits.
Right,
But when they're burned or when they're not played...
Right, lightning's not there. Thunder speaker's not there.
We're all stuck with
Stone's
and
not
mist.
there.
Shadows.
You take that back.
Rivers, they're just like 2 damage. I do 2 damage to you. How much fury did you get this turn? None. Extra builds.
But no, it would probably be... We'd keep it Brandenburg, Prussia. But
anyway,
that was the game. I hope you have enjoyed this Brandenburg, Prussia Takedown series. I think what we'll do is in the off-season, we'll do because we don't have the time now, to go and do a synopsis. John and I will take a fun look at the survey that we did and just kind of look over all the stats for fun.
A big recap.
Yeah.
I love a recap.
Like a little wrap-up kind of thing. But... after this, the next thing that's left in Season 2 is Guard the Isle's Heart.
That was a fun one.
And it was a ton of fun. So, after this, I'll swing it over to Editing Ryan to give us the closing stats. And until next time, we'll catch you on the Flippity Flip.
Bye.
Peace out.
Back to you, Editing Ryan.
Thank you, Ryan. I'll take it from here. Well, folks, I'm happy to say that even though Guard the Isle's Heart Part 1 came out to a little under 2 hours, I was still able to get it done all the same. You'll get it next week. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay awesome. We appreciate that you took the time to listen to this episode of the Kindred Spirit Podcast. Feel free to interact with us on our socials. You can catch us on our Facebook or Instagram, as well as Board Game Geek, Reddit, and Discord. Consider supporting us on Patreon, where you'll get access to episodes early as well as our private Discord. Links to all of those will be in the description of this episode. Have a great one, and may the elements be ever in your favor.